purpose, was I able to address the justice part or not? Was I able to move towards orderliness or not? All this evaluation takes place. So initially you will fill up all the gaps which are there in your interview. Once these gaps fulfill, then the need, okay, I want orderliness, but why is orderliness there? This question will start coming to you. Why is it so? Why is this their order? Why is there harmony? Why is there collaboration? Though you are participating in it, you have accepted that this is has to be, but the question, why is it there, that will become your core quest. That is when the spiritual awakening happens. So, you reach that because you are participating in the collaboration. You're trying to live with collaboration. You're trying to live in harmony, and you're really dedicated to it. And whatever gaps you're saying, you're trying to fulfill. So the question comes out in you. See, I have to pay so much attention. I do this, and still it is falling short. What is happening? Why is it this needed? That need arises. That why is collaboration, coexistence, harmony, all these things, purpose, human purpose, why are they needed? That need is not there in us. See, spiritual awakening is a higher level of awareness. Till the time that need for that higher awakening arises, it won't happen. But there are steps to reach it. So we have to do certain steps earlier. Right? So, like, the steps are like, are we trying to fulfill our roles in our relationships? What are our roles in relationship? That has to be fulfilled first, then only can you have the quest for spiritual awakening. So you start from the vyavharik, you start from the day-to-day life. Then you go into the what we call the intellect part of it. How the reasoning, the network, the purpose. And then you go to the fundamental causality, which is the space, matters permeated in space.
So, the Vyavharik part, living like in...
Use the other mic, you got the mic.
So living in a relationship. So what is my role in the relationship?
Yeah.
For that also I need to use that again goes back to the universal well-being or no?
Yeah, it will go to universal well-being. This is the exercise of your intellect with your practical life, right? With the conduct. So this cycle will continue for some time. When you start seeing the value, like this is right now a proposal. Suppose you accept the proposal. You are just considering it. It is not of such a high value. Once you start practicing it and you start seeing the results, then it becoming of a higher value. Oh, this works. This is so. But why is it so? Then the question, why is it so, comes.
So that is what he called at the buddhi level. What is happiness?
Understanding.
Happiness.
Okay, good morning everyone. This was pre-restarted, no? A lot of people were playing late, so I hope you got some sleep. But we'll start the proceedings now because we can't wait for people to join in now. Good morning. Come. So we have to talk about order in humans, and we're calling it humane conduct. Okay. So what is this topic? Where is it coming from? So the three questions we said: I am, but I do not know what I am. The world is, but I do not know what the world is. And I want to live happily, but what is happy living? So the answers to these in Jeevan Vidya were given as: I am a human being, composite of Jeevan and body, for which we studied the Jeevan. That was the first part. Second, what is this world? World is a coexistential harmony that we studied yesterday. And what is happy living? Happy living was responded with living in humane conduct is happiness. That is happy living. So now we are going to study that. Okay? This is where this is coming from. Okay. So before we go into this, I just want to talk about how these three things, capacity, capability and receptivity. So as human beings, our capacities are equal. We all have the capacity to be realized. So potentially we all can reach realization. Okay? And we potentially all of us can live in humane conduct. Potentially we all are supreme beings, supreme human beings. So there is nothing limiting us as a potential. The starting point is the same for all of us. Okay? Capability is the part that we are able to live today. In the present, whatever part of the journey I have completed was the fulfillment part, the part that I have already achieved and which I am able to live today or express today, this is my capability. So we have a lot of capabilities. We have the capability of taking our body, fulfilling our material needs, taking care of the material needs of people in our relationships, taking care of the material needs of our families, communities, society, all these capabilities are there. Okay? For this we have the understanding capability. Okay? So some of us have utilized that. We have understood something, so we are able to express because of that. Then receptivity. So since the potential is like the full range, capabilities I am here till now, here I can deal with now because I have the capability. But how do I reach from here to the full potential? So I have to receive something more, some knowledge, right? Some awareness which needs to come into me. So for this I have to be receptive. So at my current status I can receive certain things. Right? So like if you look at a child, their education, so early childhood they're learning language. Right? So but they're not they don't have the receptivity for understanding, say, some good literature at early childhood, because that they don't have the abilities to comprehend it. So if they go through a process, they can come to that level and so we have to be sure what is the receptivity of the person with whom we are sharing. Like I'm sharing this here, you all are with different receptivity. Some things are appealing to some people, different things are appealing to different people. Some might be common, some might be different. So whatever part of the journey we have completed, according to that we have a receptivity. So capability and receptivity are dependent on what part of the journey, human journey we have completed, and it is meant for where we have to reach. Okay. The Hindi words for these are, for capacity it is kshamta, for capability it is yogyata, and receptivity is patrata. These are the things. So receptivity when we are trying to address the other person, right? We will use our capabilities. We can only communicate that much which we have already lived. So our capability will be dependent on what we have understood or achieved. Only on that basis we can express ourselves. And whatever hello. You can hear me, no?
Yeah.
Yes. Reduce. Hello. Yeah. So when we are expressing with our capabilities, what part will get communicated to the other is dependent on their receptivity. Right? Whatever their journeys have been till whatever point, if they are aware, say, in other people's feeling, then they will be able to receive inputs according to that. But if they are not yet aware, then they will not be able. Like empathy, people who are considerate about other people because of empathy, because they have the receptivity of those signals. And they can see and understand that there is pain on the other end, or this is what the other person might feel because of this situation. So without that awareness, they cannot. So when we see differences in human beings, like some people are being considerate, some are not being considerate, that means their receptivity to certain things is not there. Because they have not yet, in this domain, they have not done this part of the journey. So how does this help us? Then, once we start understanding that human beings have the same potential, with the same capacity, but different capabilities and different receptivities. So when we are interacting with people, we first try and evaluate what are the capabilities and the receptivities of the person with whom we are living. And then the expectations that now we have from that person are in sync with their abilities and receptivity. If we have expectations which are beyond the capabilities or receptivity of the person, then we are being unjust to that person. It's like a young child who has just learned to write numbers, we expect them to solve numericals. That would be unjust to them now. So, getting an idea of where is this person standing in their human journey. For this we have to interact, we have to be aware and see. So one part of justice is understanding the capabilities and the receptivities of the person in front of you. And similarly this applies to you also. Sometimes some people are expressing something, they are expecting something of you, and if you can notice that you are unable to deal with that part, you can communicate. But I have not yet reached that, maybe that part. I have to work on this. So being honest about this, being genuine about this is very important. So self-evaluation and being able to understand other human beings. Like a very standard example, like we feel that a child who is say of 5 years should be able to do this. We feel a 10-year-old child should be able to do this. A 20-year-old person should be able to do this. 30 years. But that is not necessary. If they have not done that part of journey, they will not be able to do certain things. So we have to understand the capability and the receptivity of the person in front of us. And accordingly have expectations. This makes relationships much more harmonious. Otherwise, because of the age or conditions, we feel that this should be there. Like in tradition, it was thought that once a person is, say, 20 years or 25 years old, now it is Syana ho gaya, means has become knowledgeable. We will be able to. The age doesn't make that difference at all. So, how is the capability and receptivity levels increased? Through education. If they have not had education in that field or that domain, they will not be capable or receptive. Sometimes we start seeing everybody in our own image in the sense, this is so simple, this is so easy. It might be simple and easy for me, it is not for the other person.
And is it like the older you go, the harder it becomes?
Yeah. That is also possible. But I've seen elderly people being very sensitive about these things too. So again, nothing to do with the age.
But conditioning.
Yes. I've seen people very keen on learning at 85 years of age. Our own aunt, she used to live in Missouri. At age of 80 plus, she enrolled in computer classes because she wanted to communicate through emails with with her daughter, with her relatives, brothers, sisters who were living abroad. 82 years old, she went for a computer class.
But for learning to happen, one must be in normal state.
Yeah.
Suppose, like I took the example of my daughter.
Please use the mic. Is there a mic here? Yes.
If I look at my daughter, I feel that most of the time she's either in the highs or in the lows. So, how should I go about it, and how should I bring her in normal state to just listen to me what I have to say?
So 2-3 things there. One, we must remember the principle that neither the high nor the low are continuous state. Okay. So in fact, if you look at the day, highs and lows are shorter duration and the normal state is longer duration. Okay. That first we have to know. Nobody can be in a high all the time. Nobody can be in a low all the time. Maybe it might be a phase, somebody is very depressed, they're in a low for a longish time. But that also has, one comes out of it for some time. Maybe again goes back. But there are periods where the person is high. So our ability to read the person. Right? And second thing is, after a certain age, the other person, whether it's our own child, is not ready for obedience. Obedience is not the character or nature of human beings after a certain age. Obedience works, say, till age of 8, 10. And nowadays it is even lesser. So what works after that? Only proposals. Proposals coming from authentic contact. Nothing else will work. Because there is this power of willful action, or what we call free will, no human being wants interference in that. Even young children, like I realized I was interacting with some of the young children here, and the moment I unknowingly did that, interfered, why don't you do it like this? They don't like it. They move away immediately. And they probably are 6, 7, 8 years old, nothing more than that. Think about your daughter. I'm sure she's older than that. Yeah. So, obedience will not. That expectation is wrong. Because that, to be obedient, that part is over in their life. But traditionally, it was expected even a 60-year-old person whose parents are, say, 80, 85 years old, this 60-year-old person will still be obedient to it. This was tradition. This is misplaced. So, parent-child relationship, the expectation of obedience after a certain age is unjust. We are being unfair. We have to examine it. So, capacity, capability, receptivity. Right? So, understanding my own capabilities and capacities and receptivity, and understanding other persons, people with whom I am committed to live, their capabilities as well as receptivity. It is very important. Then only have expectations. Then your expectations will be based in reality. Otherwise, these are virtual worlds. Okay. Another important thing which is related to this is, in nature, in existence, there is order of, or there is a sequence of awareness. It cannot be like you can jump from one step to the other step immediately. So there is some process, then another level of awareness, then some process, another level of some process. These can't be bypassed. It's a step-by-step process. For example, we sit down with our child and we explain something. And now that we have explained it to the best of our abilities, we at times assume that this child has understood. That is not true. The child might have heard you, listened to you properly, but does the child value the issue that you're talking about? Does the child have the need for it? So that till the time the need to address that issue is in there, the awareness for that is there, this will not be received, even though you have done it very nicely, very politely, in a very good manner, repeated it several times. So we have to work on that awareness. That step of raising the awareness to recognize that need, that has to happen first. Okay? So you have to go step by step, step by step. Only that thing that we feel is needed by us, that is the only thing we achieve. If we don't feel the need for it, somebody else is feeling the need, I should be doing this is not sufficient. If you really want to help, the next generation, and it could be your child, it could be a student, it could just be some young person in front of you, then you have to find ways of creating need for the harmony in them at different levels. For that you have to have authenticity. Without authenticity you will not be able to do it. So instructions or preachings or lectures, they don't work. That's why they don't. I've seen parents becoming very hassled. I have gone through these things. Because we feel this child should be doing this now. Right? They are of the age now, they should be able to do this. And then really going after them. So there is no lack of dedication on part of the parent. But still, nothing is getting communicated and the distance between the parent and child is increasing. Okay. So this is important to remember in relationships because this is also connected with justice.
Bhaiya,
Yeah.
when you said steps, it is the same you talked on the second day, agreement, acceptance, understanding.
That is one sequence of things. There are many sequences. That is one sequence of learning. That is the sequence of learning. Right? I'm talking about, suppose you want to live in harmony in the family. Now there are certain level of awarenesses which you need. You need awareness for your own bodily needs. You need awareness for your emotional needs. You need awareness of emotional needs of the other person, the material needs of the other person, the purpose of the family, purpose of the relationship. All these awarenesses are needed. So these awarenesses have to be there in the person before they can live in harmony in the family. For this, we have to create an environment where learning takes place about these awarenesses. So the one who feels the need, it should be there in our family. We have to start living first, so to be authentic. Then on basis of that, we can share the need for it. And if it is there in your conduct, the receptivity will come.
So sometimes it feels like receptivity is dependent, and you said this, it's slightly dependent on the journey that one has had. So it does feel like sometimes we've had the same journey together, living together, and we're still not able to receive, or
Similarly.
yeah, similarly.
Yeah.
And there's something there is unresolved. So when you say that it depends on the journey that one has had,
Yeah.
like what does that mean?
Yeah. So, whatever sequence of events I've gone through, I might have gone through with my family or my friends or whoever, we all are observers. And our perspectives of observations are different. Even though we are going through the same event, we are taking away different learnings from those events. Therefore, our journeys are different. We feel that since the events are the same, therefore the learnings will be the same. Learnings are based on the receptivity. Receptivity is based on the perspectives. So we need to be aware of perspectives of our fellow humans, with our children or siblings or spouses or parents or neighbors or colleagues. What is their perspective to that? Especially the ones for whom we care, with whom we want long-term relationships. So, becoming an observer of them without interfering, that's the first thing. Because if the observer starts interfering, then you're not going to get the right observations.
One thing, it is often observed that when one hits a very low point in their life, they suddenly become very receptive. There's a shift. What is that?
Because some need is being felt strongly. In the terms of that need, you become receptive. So some need you did not fulfill. Therefore, the consequences led to some result which has made you feel low. So you acknowledge, according to your level of awareness, where you need to work. So you become receptive about that.
So there is suddenly a big need for urgent need.
But you must remember, this is a circumstantial need. This will not persist. Because it is coming from outside. It is not coming from inner awareness. So such situations, person for some time tries to do it, and when the circumstances improve, then again loses it. So when we define need, it is from self-awareness. Need is not imposed. This is the biggest thing. We are in relationship, so-called good relationship, we are imposing needs on our relatives. We are not helping them achieve this awareness so that they can recognize those needs. So we are working on the outside, on the circumstances, rather than the inner journey with each other. So that shift has to happen. Right now we are trained and we are quite good at this, working at the outside circumstances. Right? Like in the family, this has to happen. So we explain, see, this is like this and this is like this, therefore you need to do this. All this we talk about. But the ability to recognize this person should be able to recognize this on their own. We don't work on this. That is the key. So even if you are successful in this, suppose you are helping your children acknowledge the circumstantial need, because you're not raising their awareness and they don't have any need to raise their own awareness because the need they are fulfilling circumstantially and people are helping them recognize that. They become one, dependent on you, and then after some time they feel incapable of handling circumstances, which leads to lack of confidence, lack of self-confidence. The other approach which has been tried is like, you want to learn swimming, I'll throw you in the swimming pool. Both are imbalances. These are the circumstances, now you go and face them. I will not participate. That is also another approach. That also doesn't work. Again, that doesn't raise the self-awareness. It just makes the person desperate. In desperation, they do something. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Not a balanced approach. It's not an educated approach. It is not a harmonious approach. Okay?
I feel that communication is not easy with like everyone, and with you it is very easy. Like for me to communicate what I want with my son is very easy because like I feel that both of us understand each other. But with my daughter, she tries to make me happy when my husband passed. Just by like she just wanted to go out and you dress up and we'll go out in a cafe. I just wanted her to understand that this is not what I want, but I wasn't able to communicate this thing to her. That is where I felt that I just wanted to understand what, like this will not make me happy. This I just wanted her to understand, but I wasn't even able to communicate this to her that I don't want this.
She doesn't understand you.
So yeah.
So if I were in your situation, I would ask this question: do I understand her? Why is she doing all this? Whatever she is doing, some things you are not able to understand. So why is she doing all this? See, we have no control over her understanding, but we have control over our understanding. So we can utilize that to understand it right. I mean, she probably is a young woman, the way you describe. So she is an independent person in certain aspects. So we have to understand what motivates her, what makes her do certain things, what makes her not do certain things. What is her personality actually like? Getting into that. What happens is in our traditional way of living with, and I'm not saying this about you, this is about me I'm talking about. I go through this also. We have such a baggage of expectations in relationships that we are not able to look beyond them. My expectation is this, and this always colors my interaction with, say, my daughters. I'm not able to look at them as a person, as a human being, having their own journey. So every time I interact with them, I am looking through the lens of expectations. Whether I verbalize it or not. But the other person knows. They know. If all this person is doing is because of this expectation. all are conditioned in a certain kind of parenting, no? We have all gone through it, so we've taken some part of it, changed some part of it. So at times I also feel like my parents never did this for me, I did this for my children. But that's not sufficient.
Sometimes when from both sides, if all three faculties are there, communication is happening, everything is like
See, potential abilities is equal in all.
correct.
Yeah.
So that is there, and let's say we are expressing, and we are also receptive for what the other person is expressing.
There will be on the scale,
Yeah,
you'll either be here or here or here or here somewhere.
yeah.
I might be here, the other person could be here. I could be here, some other person could be here.
Let's say there is total whatever is being communicated from the others, you completely understand the other, and that side also completely understands you, and yet the coexistence is an issue. Like, I understand where that person's coming from, that person understands where I'm coming from, and yet we realize that we cannot coexist. Where is that coming from then? If the fundamental truth here is that of coexistence, what is missing?
The basics are missing. We think we understand each other. It's actually we have accepted each other the way they are, but we don't have the understanding of a human being. So we are not aware of certain aspects of a human being. So in this lack of awareness, even though we have accepted as what I am and you accepted me as what I am and I have accepted you as what you are, still we are not able to get along. Because there are certain things which need to be fulfilled and we are not even aware of those. Because the lack of study of human being is missing. I mean, lack of study of human being is there. Study of human being is missing.
So in a way we have accepted that I do not want to work any further on that relationship, basically, right?
What you're calling understanding each other is the coping mechanism. That never fulfilling. There are no fights because of this, right?
Yeah,
No
zero fights.
Yeah, but is not fulfilling.
Yeah.
It's better than having fights.
Yeah.
So that is okay.
Yeah,
That is a good
at
part.
some level, like you were saying, it's
Yeah.
there at some level.
Yeah.
The same Rekha's thing. I also see that there is, like I see it also as we a lot of times agree to disagree, and we feel like that's a good place to be in.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of still unresolved even in that.
Yes. So, agree to disagree is actually a good thing, but it is not the complete thing. That we need to know. It is not fulfilling. Fulfillment is my need. This part, if it is missing, then we try to live only by this. And this never fulfills. Right?
So I think this is also related to that part you said that the relationship has to be rated the highest above individuals. Right?
So, in justice we had said,
Yeah,
the relationship is the highest priority.
yeah.
All issues are under.
Yeah, then only you will have that receptiveness to be able to understand, right? So, but I mean, the question then that comes is, what are the factors that would help you decide? Then there has to also be a distinction, right? So, there can be all sorts of people at the end of the day.
Right.
So, yeah.
So when we're learning this, let's go to the relationship where we have the most comfort. Let's take this learning to the relationship where we are most comfortable and learn it there. I always give this analogy, like if you want to learn how to ride bicycle, you don't go on the main road and try to learn. You always go to the empty ground to try and learn. Right? Once you've learned it in the empty ground and you're confident enough, then you can take it to the different relationship on that. So first, practice it, master it, and then approach other relationships. Okay, let's move on. There's lots and lots to cover today. So, humane conduct is equal to humanness. Where does this come from? From realization or full understanding, and therefore understanding leads to responsibility. So this is a responsible way of living. Okay. Humanness is fulfilling all responsibilities and supporting others on the path of growth or harmony. Rootedness in humanness is a result of spiritual awareness. So you won't be, this won't become your part of you till the time there is spiritual awareness. Before that, you can, by making a strong decision and paying a lot of attention, being a lot of mindfulness which is required, with lot of effort to achieve this. So to study this, we'll look at 3 conduct areas. Okay? Then we'll see the basis of conduct in that conduct area. And we'll also see if it is absent, then what happens. Okay? So first conduct area is relationships, what Shabir was calling one-to-one. Right? So like parent-child, sibling, spouse, friends, colleagues. Right? So these are relationships. So the basis for responsible conduct is values. What are values? We'll just go up a little bit, one by one, we'll go into this. But if the values are absent, then you make mistakes. So in absence of values, we make mistakes in the relationships. We are unfair, we are unjust. That's what happens. Next. Then the social sphere. This is one to many. Like we are here. This is social group. How we conduct ourselves here. This we are calling ethics. And absence of ethics, there is crime. This is to do with how we acquire wealth. That is one point of ethics. The other is our sexual relationships. Are we disciplined in it or undisciplined towards whatever? We could also call it, traditionally it was called man-woman relationships. But now, the many genders who have the same sexual relationships. So are you disciplined or undisciplined? That also is part of ethics. And when you violate that, you commit a crime. And the third is the institutional. Humans organize themselves in large groups. Like this group also organized itself to do this workshop. So this is actually a formal setting. Right? We have a structured program in this. Whenever we have a structured approach to anything, that's an institutional approach. Right? So, whether a family can be a flexible relationship kind of thing where we are do a lot of things without structure, but there is also some structure to the family. And the structure comes from that purpose, activities, responsibilities, this kind of a thing. So when we shift towards that, then it becomes institutional. But the basis to do the, otherwise the family has relationships which are value based. But when the structure, at times you have to take a decision about the family. So say, where do we live now? Right? Some of us face this question. So we have to sit down, take each of and every person's inputs into this, make a decision, and then move forward. Hello? Yeah. So when we make it formal, come through a structured approach, then it becomes an institution. But these were the small institution. Government is a large institution. You want?
Mike's not.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. So government is also an institution. Schools are also institutions. Municipal corporation is an institution. Judicial system is an institution. Right? Indian Railways is an institution. Right? Because things are done through a proper process, through a proper goal, roles and responsibilities, that whenever we take that, that is an institutional approach. And this is many to many. For this we need policy. And if a policy, a responsible policy is missing, it leads to exploitation and conflict. And that, leads to struggle and war. Okay, these are the three areas. Why does it fluctuate up and down?
The battery is probably running low. The battery is probably not consistent now.
Yeah. So in the break we should get another battery from there. So these are the three conduct areas. These are the basis for responsible conduct in these three areas. And if this is missing, then these are the things which are. So that's why in the present form of human living, it's full of mistakes, crime and exploitation. Because all these three are missing. Mistake is basically another name for unjust behavior. Unethical behavior is crime. And inhuman policy is leading to exploitation. Now let's take them one by one and understand each of them one by one. So values. Where are the values? In relationships. So we are talking one-to-one. Okay? So if we were to look at it from an overview of relationships, then the only value is justice or nyaya. So in relationship, nyaya is the fundamental value which results in harm. So what is this justice or nyaya? Nyaya is fulfilling one's responsibility in relationships and working for enabling others to fulfill their relationships or responsibilities. So our end of responsibilities we have to fulfill. So we need to identify that first. For this we need to understand the relationship. What is the purpose of the relationship? What are the activities in the relationship? What are the responsibilities in the relationship? And fulfill that part. So nyaya is not about justice. Right now when we did this, we said every human child from birth demands. We have not done that one? Oh. This was in the earlier workshop. So we can talk about it here. So there are three things. You come here. So there are three things which are there in the humans since birth. Every human child from the beginning shows three tendencies. First is, every human child since birth demands justice, but it does not have the ability to do justice to others. So they demand justice. Be fair to me. Be just to me. But when it's their own turn to be just, they don't know what to do. Right?
Till how long does it happen?
Till the time there is education for it, it will continue all lifetime.
That is okay. But then, since we say the sense of sharing and all these things, it comes a little later. A little range like 8, 10, 9, 11.
That's what I'm saying. This justice we are talking about, which we'll be describing here, this will only come through proper educational program which is focused on raising this awareness. It won't come with age. It doesn't happen automatically. We have passed thousands of generations, many lifetimes, and it's absent in humankind. Justice. We use the word justice, we use the word nyaya, but the reality of nyaya is missing. Once I describe. So if you look at the tendencies anywhere, everybody wants whatever responsibilities others have towards me, they should fulfill this. Right? But what are my responsibilities towards others? That I am very lenient about. But I am very strict about others' responsibilities towards me. Right? This is the kind of approach we have right now in the human. So here, it's the reverse. You become strict about your end of responsibilities towards others and lenient about others' responsibility towards you. It's the reversal of that approach. The second tendency which a human child has since birth is that it wants to do the right thing. From the beginning, the child wants to do the right thing. But it doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. So sometimes thinking this is the right thing to do ends up doing the wrong thing. Like if you ask the child, why did you hit this child? Say, he hit me first. So because the other person hit me, therefore it is correct to hit the other one. This is the understanding that child has, which is basically he or she doesn't know the difference between right and wrong, but is trying to do the right thing. Another example of this is whenever we do something and others say this is not correct, we have a justification for it. We try to justify it because we don't want to be in the wrong. So we did it thinking it was right and we want to prove it is the right thing to do. What does it indicate? We don't know the difference between right and wrong. Right? So every human being, whatever they do, even the person who is murdering somebody else, thinks it's the right thing to do, which is indicative of things that doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. Okay. Then the third one is every human child from the beginning is the speaker of the truth. What is that? It says what it's observed. Right? But it doesn't understand the complete truth. I'll give you an example. Like there are two siblings. One is a young toddler, the other one is 6-7 years old. So the toddler is going towards the electricity point, trying to put a finger in the hole. So the elder sibling comes and slaps him. on the hand. The toddler goes to the parent and complains that my brother has hit me. Right? Whereas the fact is the brother has saved him. So he doesn't understand the full complete picture. So he's only looking at the event. So this is the problem with us. We are only looking at the events, we don't understand the whole picture. So inherently human children are speakers of the truth but do not understand the truth. So this gives us 3 goals for educational program. First, because every child is demanding justice but doesn't have the ability to be just to others. So the first objective of education is to give them the ability to be just to others. That is one of the goals of the education. Second is, they want to do the right thing but they do not know the difference between right and wrong. So the education program should be able to give them the ability to discern between right and wrong. And the third is, they are speakers of the truth but do not understand the whole truth. So the educational program should be able to make them understand the entire truth, which is existence is coexistence. That is the entire truth. In less than that, you will only be observing some short-term events or some part reality. So these are the 3 goals of the educational program.
What was second one?
Wishes to do what is right. Doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. So to give them the ability to have ability to discern between right and wrong. To differentiate what is right and what is, so understand what is the difference between right and wrong. That will only happen with some purpose in mind. Right? So suppose, let's take an example. What is the right way of conducting ourselves in this workshop? So if the goal is to successful completion of this workshop in which everybody understands, right? Within the given stipulated time. If this is the goal, then you can now filter your actions. What is taking us in this direction of fulfilling the goal, and what is taking us away from this direction. So without a goal, without a purpose, there is no right and wrong. So you hear this very commonly, that there is no right and wrong. Everybody's right is different. Because we don't have a common goal. We don't have a human purpose, human goal. But we have the expectation that the other person should do the right thing.
The question that I had, the example that you gave of the toddler and the 6-7-year-old siblings, that instead of slapping his hand, he could have just said that take your hand, don't do that, that's dangerous, something like that. That's
The finger was here and the hole was here. There was no time for the child to talk. Could have caught it and brought it out also. Right? There can be. The point is not what this elderly child did or the elder child did. The point is the toddler doesn't understand the whole situation. So even though the toddler is speaking the truth, it is partial. That is the point of the whole thing. Okay? Moving on. This is before that slide. Go to the Nyaya. this is where. Okay. So Nyaya is fulfilling one's responsibility in relationships and working for enabling others to fulfill their relationships. इसको responsibilities करते हैं. Okay, so moving on. Now the question is, what is Nyaya? Nyaya is fulfilling one's responsibility. This is one way of looking at it. Then we look at the definition of justice as given in Jeevan Vidya. So it has 4-part definition. There are 4 lines in this. First is identifying relationships. Okay. So when we were talking, when Prachi had mentioned this, that my relationship with my mother, and the issue was that it is, are we born in relationships or do we have a choice? By choice we make relationships, and I responded that by choice we make relationships. So we have, by choice we are making relationships, we have to identify them in a certain relationship. So there are basically 7 types of relationships. Okay? So let me just go to that first. So identifying a relationship, the first thing which we have to understand is, relationship is a long-term commitment for mutual growth and completeness. What is mutual growth in human beings? Obviously it's not like this, and it's not about accumulating money, it is not about fame. What is it? It is about reaching higher level of awareness. So we are in relationships to achieve higher level of awareness and to help the other achieve the higher level of awareness. That is growth. And what is completeness? For this awareness we need knowledge. So completing our knowledge. So we are in the relationship so that we can complete our knowledge and we can help the other complete their knowledge. And once we have the knowledge and awareness, then evidence. Evidence in my conduct and helping the other have evidence in their conduct. This is the purpose of relationships. This is the purpose of relationships. Yeah, take mine, pass her the mic. On करो, नीचे से बाहर निकालो.
The last thing is like helping others in
So
completeness. Can you say more on that?
three things I say.
Yeah.
One is raising my awareness, helping the other person raise their awareness. Right? Completing my knowledge, being supportive in other person completing their knowledge. Having evidence in my conduct, helping the other to have evidence in their conduct.
How do you do that? An example, how do you help someone have evidence in their conduct?
On basis of authenticity. If you have it in your conduct, then only you can help. If you have the knowledge, then only you can help somebody have.
So like education process are you talking
Yes.
about?
So without authenticity, you can't do it. So right now we must examine what is the expectations we are having and the expectations that we have of the other partner. Are we living that ourselves? Right? This check also has to be there. So in identifying relationship, first we need to understand what a relationship is. This is what a relationship means. Everything is under this umbrella now. Fulfilling the material needs, emotional needs, all that is under this umbrella. Yes?
Yeah, I have just one question. When you're talking of a relationship and responsibilities, how do we even define our responsibilities? Is it also based on the expectations? Because sometimes we tend to overdo and then, we feel the brunt. Sometimes we don't, you're kind of oscillating between it. So how do I define?
So here we are saying, first we have to understand this is the purpose of relationships. Okay? Now, let's take a look at different kinds of relationships. Then let's see what in each relationship, how do we help each other in mutual growth and completeness, complementariness. How do we help that? So the 7 types of relationships are, and please remember we started with humane conduct. Humane conduct was in 3 areas. 1-to-1 was relationships in which with values we are able to live responsibly, right? Under that we came to the definition of, we saw that the main value is nyaya, and in nyaya the definition was first identifying the relationships, the first part. We are exploring the first part in which we saw the definition of relationship. Now we are looking at types of relationships. Okay?
Can I?
Yes, take the mic.
So just before we move on to the types of relationships, I thought just to go back to the previous slide where we've defined relationship as the long-term commitment for mutual growth and completeness. Now, this seems like it's only relevant to humans, but if you look at any relationship in existence is for mutual complementarity. And things come together and stay together when they are mutually complementary to each other, mutually supportive to each other. And that is what we see and observe, and that's what we call that they're in a relationship of some sort. So what would mutual complementarity be among humans? For that we need to go back to what humans are for, like why are we here, what is our role, what is our purpose. So if we understand that, then we can see how we can complement each other and why we complement each other the ways we do. So if we go back to humans, we can recall that humans are entities that wish to actualize their ideas, their designs, and who are hopeful for happiness. Now, when we studied this, actualizing our ideas and hopefulness for happiness, we realized that we can only do that with understanding. Until then, we can keep trying to do what we imagine, but the results are contradictory, which is quite unfulfilling for us. And that troubles us, and when we get troubled, we get agitated, and then we are no longer functioning from ourselves, we are affected by whatever is happening on the outside. All of this continues until we have an understanding of our own, and until we feel some clarity of our own, after which after understanding, we are able to affect our environment. That is what the knowledge order is for. We can, instead of getting affected by our environment, we are able to create an environment of harmony ourselves.
Develop the
environment. That is what human beings are capable of. That is what human beings wish to be doing. We do not wish to be dependent and affected by whatever is happening outside of us. We are seeking liberty, we are seeking autonomy, we are seeking independence but we are also seeking harmony with that independence. And it is that harmony that we wish to create outside, but we wish to do it without getting affected by the outside. We wish to do it with autonomy.
And autonomy is internal harmony.
Yeah. So we are hoping for internal harmony, therefore internal control and internal power, basically our own empowerment. And on the basis of that, establishing and evidencing that harmony outside as well. So relationships then become our journeys with each other to help us mutually reach that state of internal harmony and evidence of that in external harmony. So internal harmony is in the form of knowledge completeness, and external harmony is when we evidence that knowledge in the form of, our patience, our courage, our generosity, our kindness, our benevolence, our compassion. Through such conduct, we are able to establish harmony outside as well. We do not get affected by the turbulations outside. We are able to affect them and bring normalcy and balance in them. We become mediative. So that is the goal of any relationship then.
Very well put. Okay. Yes.
So you're trying to say that values are an outcome of internal harmony, and then you don't feel exploited.
Yeah, values, we recognize values, that is our increase in our awareness, that is our education process. And by understanding and recognizing and living in values, that itself is internal harmony.
So it's a byproduct. It just comes. It just shows.
We can say values are the connecting point of internal harmony as well as the external harmony.
Yeah.
They reflect inwards also, and they have impact outwards also.
When we understand purpose, ultimate purpose of everything, when we have that largest or deepest picture, then when we look at anything, we recognize its value, right? If this is the full picture, then why is this here? That is its value. So when we understand everything, then in the context of that, I will see my father and I say, oh, that is his value in my life. And that is his value as a social entity. That is his value as a human being on this planet. Or with anyone else for that matter. When we recognize the whole picture, that's through understanding and education, then we are able to recognize values. And so then we don't get affected. We see what is happening. We see things as they are.
Okay. So we are talking about 7 types of relationships. So here we start with the spouse relationship, traditionally called as husband-wife relationship. So
just to give background to this, why 7 types?
Yeah.
So here we are recognizing that there are 7 different ways in which human beings can complement each other in this journey. These are 7 categories, or the 7 roles that we can play in each other's journeys because of who we are, how we are, nature, our biological trajectories, and our social circumstances. These are the 7 types of roles we end up playing in each other's lives. But we are all familiar with these roles, but we haven't really understood them. So here, this is a brief explanation of what these 7 types of complementarities are.
you want to take us through that journey one by one? Do it.
Can we, I want to
Come.
not ask, but can we also think it like when you said that we are actualizer of our own designs. So can we look at this as, because when we are actualizing any of our design, we will need collaboration and thus relationship. So can we when we are wanting to actualize one of our design, we will be continuously doing this, creating some design. Now the shift is that we are now taking the context of universal well-being in the picture, and then also if we are going to evidence it or do a action when we are trying to actualize that design, then we have to collaborate only. So that is the only way we have to do it. And for that collaboration, we will have to, we will not have to, but we are in relationship. We will see that.
So,
Is it a way to think it? Because Acha, you don't need that.
Hello. So,
This is forward.
I think how I would, that is definitely one part, that we are collaborating. So we will, anything we do in life, it is with other people. And so we have to figure out how to be harmonious with other people. But I think that is not sufficient, because that's somewhat of a utilitarian way of looking at it. Okay, because I need them, therefore I need to figure out how to work with them. That is how in human resources and psychology currently, that is how we think about it. Okay, since we need to function together, it's a necessity, compulsion. Therefore, we should figure out the best, most efficient and most satisfying way to do it. That's definitely true. We have to do that. But I think when we study coexistence, what we understand, the fundamental truth, is that togetherness is the ultimate reality. That we are together. So we see this from the fundamental state of space and matter to the next level of subatomic particles coming together in relationships, to everything else from there to the clusters of galaxies. That is the nature of being, togetherness. So that becomes our very drive. We just want to be together harmoniously. So when we become independent, in the same moment we also become keen on togetherness, keen on harmonious togetherness. It is not just our situation that we need to cope with, it is also our goal. We want to, so it's, how I see it is in, by and for relationships, which is in, by and for coexistence. Coexistence is togetherness after all. No? So that's how I see it.
Hold it the other way. Yeah, because the signals transmitted in this side, but the bottom one is for forward and top one is for. Okay, 7 relationships.
So then there are 7 types of complementarities that we can have in each other's life, that we do have as humans. And once we understand that our whole being is we want order and freedom, and that freedom is to be able to be harmonious and orderly of our own will, of our own understanding. So then how do we go about doing it?
Drishna.
Okay.
So yesterday when we were talking about the material order, plant order and animal order, we were saying, okay, what is useful and what is complementary. If I draw the analogy from there, in case of humans, since it is a knowledge order, it is same thing, it is being done useful and complementary here, something works out, because we are together, just like existence is. So togetherness is, it's not togetherness is something which...
So that we can do something else.
I mean, yeah. There is no choice.
Togetherness doesn't have to be created.
Created, or you cannot be isolated. Okay, because that's not existence. So just like the division was happened with the plant order, material order and animal order, this 7 types is a knowledge order. We are trying to see the usefulness and complementariness. Is that can be said? Can we just expand it to that?
Yeah. Usefulness, in human beings we can see our usefulness is, I am useful to the extent that I have understood and I am capable of participating. And with my usefulness, that is my understanding and capabilities, I can be complementary to others. So in this way, I'm useful and I can be complementary in so many ways. So maybe we can see it in this way.
I just want to add this, that yes, usefulness and complementariness is the thing for the human beings. What is the usefulness of a human being? That is
To see.
the purpose. Fulfilling the purpose is the usefulness. What is the complementariness? Complementariness is, for material order, is to make it sustain its ability to sustain biological order. Complementary with biological order is to make it sustain its ability to sustain animal order. And with animal order is the balance in the animal order so that it can sustain the human order. And in the human order, helping other fellow human beings to achieve their purpose. That is the complement.
That's our complementary.
Huh?
That's
Yeah.
our complementariness, and our usefulness is to reach that state of independence, understanding, and basically establishing coexistence within us of our own free will and our independent understanding.
And another way of saying this in humans is that since achieving the purpose is by raising our awareness, so complementariness will be through helping others raise their awareness. So it's on the conscious aspect. Our problem in the tradition for thousands of years is that we are only trying to be complemental in the material aspect, wherever we have tried. Otherwise we are exploitative even that. So the best we have done is complementariness in the material aspect, but not in the conscious aspect. So that conscious aspect has to be taken care of within ourselves and when we are trying to. So that is the highest level of complementariness.
Okay, so then there are 7 ways in which we can be complementary to others' others reaching their internal independent harmony. The first role or first category of such complementarity is the husband-wife or spousal relationship, in which the complementarity with one another is that you have a common vision, you become co-creators, and you live. How are you complementary and co-creators? Because you live with your effort and essence. This is something more technical. It is understandable, but basically it is how the husband and wife can be complementary to each other in sustaining a family around them. So this is the complementarity of the first type of relationship, spouses.
The qualification for this relationship.
Yeah, this is the qualification, this is the value of it. If this value is fulfilled, then it is a healthy husband-wife relationship. If that is not, then we have so many different variations in which we try to understand it to live.
Qualification for marriage. So the completion of education and having. Okay. I'm just saying, you say it, Sheila. Okay. So how does one qualify for this relationship? And in tradition we call marriage, and that's when we come into this relationship, which is basically a social declaration that we two are going to live like this. So the qualification for this is first having the awareness, or through education or knowledge, that I've realized human purpose and I want to fulfill the human purpose. Both the people have this realization and they want to work together to fulfill this purpose. Also with that, they both realize that since we are human beings, we also have some material needs. So we also want to participate in the occupations so that we can contribute in production of material facilities and take our fair share of it. So with these two qualifications, you qualify to become husband and wife.
Or rather, I would say that if we have this understanding or this awareness, then when we enter into the spousal relationship, then we can be fulfilling to each other also and to the society also. Without that understanding, without that clarity of vision and purpose, if we enter into that, we're not sure why we're there, or we can have a lot of different imaginations of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So often that is unfulfilling to both parties as well as to the people around them. Then the same husband and wife or the spouses will become parents and they will have children. So that is another type of relationship, another type of complementarity role that we can play in other humans' lives, which is a very big role, because the role there is of nurturing and guiding the offspring, the little human being that is there. And why are we doing this nurturing and guidance? It's so that they can grow, they can be uplifted, they can become useful in themselves and complementary to others. And here, nurturing is to basically provide them with whatever suitable, conducive elements are needed for their growth. All those elements, providing all those elements, that is what we call nourishment or nurturing. So obviously we already know that some of the very important elements when the baby is born is the food and the nutrition and protect all of that. But then the child also needs some other things, like we saw that table. The child is seeking justice, the child is seeking to do what is right, the child wishes to speak the truth. So nourishment will be providing even whatever is conducive to fulfilling those needs. So that is also nourishment. And guidance, the word for this is sanrakshan in Hindi actually, which is protection. And protection for the child is their own understanding at the end of the day. How will a child feel secure? They will only feel secure when they feel confident. And they will only feel confident when they have an understanding of their own to live by. So guidance allows them to build that understanding. So that is the other role parents play.
And what the point I wanted to add here was, we are not saying that every husband and wife need to have their biological children. It is a role they can take up with any kind of children. I mean, there are many children who don't have parents in the society. So those children also, because relationship is actually accepting somebody as your relative, right? So it's a choice. So just that clarification.
Yeah, all of these are just the 7 types of roles we can play in society. When there are children, they need some parent figure, whoever it might be. And what that means, what they need is this. That is what it means.
One more point just in extension to that is, but we need to understand this, like in the whole human race, there will be more couples who will have children, biological children, than ones who are choosing the other people's children, because the children have to be born, right? Everybody is just waiting for other people's children, where will the children come? So they have to be biological children, then only will the thing happen. Yeah.
What's the use of a child to a parent?
Show it around.
The usefulness of a child, like the usefulness of any human being, is first, I become useful when my understanding grows. That is my use as a human being. Raising my awareness so that I become independent in my desire and ability to be harmonious. That is my use. The parents' complementarity to this purpose of the child is nurturing and guiding them. And the child's complementarity to the parent isn't receiving it happily and reaching that.
Evidence.
Yeah, that will be the evidence for the child, parents also, no?
Yeah.
That's a need.
Yeah. So the utility of a child is that a parent's knowledge is now going to be tested. The evidence of it, whether I have understood or not. So, do I understand caring? Do I understand nurturing? Do I understand love, affection? Do I understand health, nutrition? All these things will now be tested. So, it is a relationship in which I can give evidence of all this.
The child's use for the parent is not to provide their evidence. The child's complementarity to the parents is to receive whatever they're giving as form of their evidencing their just the receiving and happy receiving, and then the usefulness is important for the child. I'll receive it and work on my own, the child's own understanding and harmony. Then when the child is able to evidence themselves, the parent feels fulfilled. So it's not about being useful to the parent, it's about being complementary by receiving and becoming what they were hoping. The parent is receiving by just evidencing themselves.
It's the most reflective relationship.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Which they also the response of the child to the parents or the parent-like person to their efforts, and it's like a feedback loop, but not only in the intellect realm, it's also in the emotional realm. Like when you try something with a child and the child smiles back at you, you're like, it's that, okay, what I'm doing is right, and I'm going to do it more. Now I'm going to be more committed. Although you are supposed to be already committed in that relationship, but it just gives that extra push. And the child is the most acknowledging, I don't want to say creature, but being, yeah. More than brothers and sisters and stuff like that. The child is just willing to take it on, to take on whatever you are, acknowledge whatever you are giving. So that smile of the child and the acknowledgement is the most heartening thing in that relationship, and it just helps that relationship to grow.
So as parents, the children are also the evidence of your common vision and your co-creation with your partner, right? So that is fulfilling on its own. And when you do it, when you're able to do it well, it reflects even when the child is just smiling. The child is not, its role is not to smile for you. But if you're doing it well, the child smiles and it feels fulfilling. Similarly, when they grow up, the child's role is not to be productive in society for you. The child's being productive as of their own understanding and their own volition and their own wish to be harmonious is fulfilling and joyful for the parents, because then that is evidence of their having understood and transferred in the right manner. So often right now it seems like, the child's duty is to live up to the parents' visions or expectations. It's not like that.
It is also the other way around. Like on a micro level, the child is helping you each day, each hour, each moment, for the kind of person that you are, for evolving you. I think so. It is like howsoever the mistakes that we do or whatever it is reflecting in child, and if you have the discerning eye, you will be able to act on yourself.
Yeah.
Evidencing is the right. Somehow
Yeah.
I relate the word with the word evidence the most in parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
Like it's like very feedback is like immediate almost.
Yeah, I like that actually, really, because sometimes it seems like that we're learning from the child, or that is true actually, we learn from our interactions with the child, but the child is not teaching us really.
Yeah.
We are learning from, our understanding is getting reflected. So we are getting evidence or verification or feedback in our relationship with the child. So I also really like that it is the evidence of whatever understanding we do have. But if we feel like when we say that the child teaches us, it becomes a little burdensome for the child. It's a little overestimation of what they are capable of and what their needs are also.
The relationship is teaching you, not the child.
Yeah. Similarly with the teacher-student relationship.
Yeah.
Often, like as teachers, we say that, oh, I learned so much also from my students. We learn from the students are not teaching us. We learn from that relationship with the students. Otherwise, it becomes skewed. It's not fulfilling for the students to feel like I have to teach my teacher, or the child to say that feel like I have to teach my parents. And it's not even fulfilling actually from the parents and teachers. Because the point of harmony for this relationship, the information here is that it is this way, nurturing and guidance, from going from the parents to the child.
Because you remorse.
Because? You must. Next.
Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah.
As you were saying that when the student is not fulfilling to the student, if they feel like they have to teach the teacher, and it won't even be fulfilling to the teacher, it's because that if one of the two parties is not fulfilled, the other one cannot be fulfilled, because fulfilled is a mutual fulfillment, not just fulfillment of themselves.
That's true.
So it's fulfillment in harmony, really. It can't be like I'm fulfilled and you're not fulfilled. If you're not fulfilled, I will be fulfilled.
Right. Fulfillment is only mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's a good way of putting it. I know that it wouldn't be fulfilling for the teacher if the student felt that they have to teach, but I wasn't able to really articulate why. But this is why. If the student feels that they have the onus of teaching the teacher, then the student won't be fulfilled, and therefore the teacher also won't be fulfilled.
Mutual fulfillment, it's the word is coming in darshan is Ubhay Tripti.
We'll be addressing that. The definition
can still happen, but Ubhay Tripti might not.
No.
No, it will happen. We'll come to that.
Fulfillment is mutual. Understanding need not have been mutual. But the fulfillment will, how can I feel fulfilled if I know you're unhappy with me?
This question is from the point like, suppose I were to treat you
Right.
with respect and trust. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
If I were to treat, you were to treat me, say, with respect and trust, and I don't have understanding of respect and trust, so I don't have it in my conduct to treat others. But what would be my response to your respecting me and your conducting yourself with trust? Will I oppose that? I'll only accept it and it will give me some happiness only. No? So this is what, even if one person in the relationship is able to do the right thing, there is mutual fulfillment in that aspect. But when I have to do it, because I am unfulfilled, I am not able to do respect to you or trust with you, therefore that is my unfulfillment in that aspect which I have to work on.
There's
a mic here.
You were saying that for a child, for a parent, the evidence is that the child flourishes and is whatever is expected from a human being, whatever the rules are, that the child is able to. But it's not only the parents thing, because maybe suppose I am here, my parents have never introduced me to junk food, but I get it from somewhere else. Through society. So that will not come on the parents, na?
Yeah.
How is
right? The child is influenced by a lot more than just their parents, and that's why there are other 5 relationships that are. So when the child is growing up, they're getting influenced by a lot of spaces, but the major responsibility for the nurturing and guidance of the child lies with the parents. So if they see that, she's falling sick, or she's getting unhappy because of some, turbulence in this environment, they will care, they will want to do something about it, they will want to address it. So even though you're getting influences from outside, your parents are always there, looking at you, nurturing you and guiding you, so that also gets balanced.
So you're saying that it's not, I'm asking that is it pure evidence for them if a child is like that, or it is half complete evidence for their, how do I say it?
So the child becoming, are you saying that whether the child becomes humane or not, is that dependent completely on the parents' understanding or not?
Yeah, I'm asking.
So how I would see that is that, if my parents, if my parents are complete human beings, completely harmonious, then I am receiving, that means they're completely just. and completely doing everything that is needed for my growth and understanding. As a child, from the beginning, as soon as we are born, the people we look at most closely and who we know most closely are our parents. I think no one knows people better than children know their parents. I mean, for certain aspects, right? Because they're observing them so closely while growing up. And when you, as a child, are observing such a fulfilling and just and wholesome human being while growing up, actually the lesser, the weaker, the problematic forces on the outside are much weaker compared to this huge fulfilling presence in your life.
Because
so you don't get affected.
Because you will see that only.
Yeah.
What is more appealing to you, you will see that.
Yeah.
But in the case that they are half, like neither are they complete, neither are they very low, then the child will get influenced with not only this, they will get influenced by many things.
Yeah, they'll get whatever good is with their parents, right? Because you're seeing the goodness. So we receive all the goodness that is there in the parents. Initially, we don't even realize the things that we pick up from our parents. Slowly, we realize, oh, even if we didn't agree with it, 5 years down the line, that is what has been imbibed by us. But because maybe they were incomplete or their understanding was incomplete or we didn't understand where they were coming from because maybe they weren't able to educate us in it fully. We were affected by it, it appealed to us, but we didn't understand it fully. So maybe it's not as strong in us as it could have been, but we still have the effect of that goodness. Whenever we come across other options that are maybe little less satisfying in life, you go out, you meet people, you come across different thoughts and opinions. You might try them out, but if you have a stronger experience from before, it doesn't really appeal for too long. You'll try it out, you'll see its shortcomings, you'll be like, actually, that was better. Let me try going back to that.
Let me also add in this that it's not only what the parents are doing that the child will receive. Child has its own perspective. It also has its free will. So it also chooses after initially it will imbibe a lot of things automatically, but soon it starts filtering certain things according to its own perspective. So child is on an independent journey. We must always remember that. And they do take a lot of good things from their parents. They do take a lot of good things from their environment. They also take some things which are not so good from the environment. But the evidence that something of mine has gone to my child, that is fulfilling. The child is not a copy-paste of me. Okay? And because the child has a different perspective, my shortcomings they can take also, and they can also evaluate and not take. A lot of children in families where there is violence or substance abuse, the next generation really doesn't want to go even close to that. So they don't want to be near alcohol or anything like that. So they have not imbibed that value. They've stayed away from it. So never forget that each human being has a perspective. They have a value judgment in them. What is correct for me, what is not. Even though their education and awareness might not be complete, they will still use that filter.
But where does that perspective come from? Is it there since they are born? Because suppose it's a really alcoholic family, no one the child has ever seen who is not doing all that thing,
right.
And still you're saying that in some cases the child will just not do it. So
Yeah.
where does that perspective come from?
From Jeevan, Jeevan has the perspective. Jeevan is never without a perspective. Even in the womb it has a perspective.
So when it's like baby also didn't have
I'm saying even in the womb it has a perspective. So whatever influences are coming, then it views them. So if the mother is unhappy or there are some unhappy incidents happening around that, it's been researched that it has an impact on the child in the womb. Yeah. And if there are happy conditions around the pregnancy, that also has an impact. That also has been proven. So perspective is there. By the virtue of you being a human being, there is a perspective. Now the level of awareness for that perspective, that is what evolves as you grow older and as you get educated. Both are involved in that. We can't say that there is no role of growing up. There is some role of growing up, but bigger role is of education, learnings.
This is how it connects to what Auntie was also talking about. We were talking about that time for why negativity is much more difficult for it to spread. Because from when I'm even as a child, we are absorbing all these influences. They're affecting us. You're saying, no, it's a completely alcoholic family. All that effect is coming to the child. It's not pleasant, right? The child has the capacity to see that I don't like this, right? Every child, everyone we have our fundamental capacity is to be able to judge. Do I like this? Do I not like this? So, if there's some negativity around you, yes, some people might not make that observation that actually I don't like this. And why don't I like this? It's because alcoholism is causing this. So maybe they don't make that judgment. But there is always that possibility that the child says that, oh, I don't like this. That the signal of that is there. We have to recognize it. We all have the freedom to choose to pay attention to it. Recognize that I don't like it actually. And if I don't like it, then it becomes a question. What don't I like? What do I do about it? So then I have the option, I have the choice to move away from it or find something else. Whereas if you're surrounded by something very positive around you, you have the capacity to see whether I like it or not. If it's all good, of course you'll like it, right? Whether you pay attention or not, the effect of the fact that you're liking it is going to be there. So you will not want to move away from it, whether you understand it or not. Yes, if you're someone who chooses to pay attention and be like, oh, I like this. Why do I like this? Then you can also understand what was good there and you can embody that much more easily. Say I don't have that awareness yet. I just enjoy what I like and I don't think about why I don't like it. I will keep going on with it, but it will not be mine. But eventually, because it's not mine, I will lose it at some point. I'll change where I am, who I'm with, and it's no longer with me because it was with the other people who I left with. At that point again, I have the choice of asking, oh, I don't have that thing that I used to like earlier. Why don't I have it anymore? So then you have that, at least you have that hook. You've had that good experience. So you always have the option, the choice, the freedom to wonder, what was that? Why was that? How can I get it? So goodness that way spreads much more easily, whereas the negativity has much more chance of getting restricted. Because you will move away from it.
Time for a break. Let's come back quickly. We are falling short of time now.
Start. So we were talking about justice. I just wanted to go back to this slide once. Because that slide is in context of this. So I just wanted to talk about it.
This is the main slide of today's.
Yeah.
And we'll keep referring to it again and again.
So we were talking about how justice is the fundamental value in relationships. That is what we seek in relationships. And what is justice is very simply, in very broad terms, it's harmony in our relationship, where we both feel fulfilled. So there's a feeling of fulfillment in any relationship, and that is what is being named justice, right? Whatever we have thought of justice up till now, in courts of law and conflict resolution and decision making, that is not quite the same thing, because that is not talking about fulfillment. It's talking about decisions of which side should be favored or which side should not be favored. Maybe it's talking about some sort of balance of distribution. But it's not talking about this internal sentiment of feeling fulfilled with our relationship with the other person. So that is what this justice is talking about. And we can also think of it in terms of harmony in our relationship with one another. And this harmony, it can only happen if we are both feeling like we are both in this together. It's a sense of rich togetherness that we're both there in the same thing together. We're there for each other, with each other. And up till now, often we feel like, okay, our relationship might seem okay in the sense that we don't have any conflicts. We're getting along, all right, we're getting by. But as we had already discussed a little earlier, that's not the same as feeling fulfilled. Fulfilled is where you feel like, this is what it is. This is what we want out of this. Not that, okay, at least it's not what I don't want. So that when we look at, remember, go back to that graph of up and down, fulfillment will be the steady state. When we feel like there's conflict, that's the bottom peak. When we feel like, okay, things are comfortable, they're okay, and we can get by, that's a small negative. It's still not fulfilled, it's still not that rich togetherness, where we see each other, we feel we're together, and we feel that harmony. When we're with each other, we really feel like we're with the other person in this together. So that's the harmony that we're talking about here, and giving it the name justice. This is what justice has been, that we've been seeking up to now. And then if we were to open that up, what allows us to feel that way with one another, really? We've come up with a lot of ideas on how we can get there. Maybe we can hold hands, maybe we can close our eyes together, maybe we can dance together, maybe we can, just share our feelings with one another. We've tried out a lot of ways to reach that feeling of togetherness, of harmony with one another. Another point to remember is that we want that harmony with one another, not for just this moment, not for maybe the next 10 minutes, the next 1 hour. We want it permanently, right? We want that to continue. So how does that happen? How can we reach that? That is what this slide is about. What allows for that sort of harmony is what this is about. This is what we have been seeking.
And the continuation aspect as well,
Yeah.
happiness wala continuation
Right.
aspect, right?
Because happiness is harmony.
Yeah.
And what is this harmony in relationships? How do we reach that eternal state of harmony with other people? That is what this is explaining. So there are 4 parts to it. The first is, in a relationship, we'll recognize what this relationship is. Right? Earlier we had reached that slide where we talked about, there are 7 ways of recognizing how we fit with each other. The 7 different types of complementarities we can live out with each other, that we can nibhao in Hindi. So ye hum nibha sakte. There's different ways in which we can live with each other. So we figure out which one is it that I can live out with this person. So the first part is identifying that relationship. And how can we identify anything really? It is when we have a background of understanding, a template. If we have a template, on the basis of that we are able to recognize something, right? On the basis of a template we are able to identify something. If I have no template of what relationships are, what they can be, what roles can be, what purposes are, then how do I recognize something? How do I identify something? I can only recognize that this is a table because I have some concept of table in my head. I can only recognize that this is a window, not a door, because I have a concept of a door and a window. They're both holes in the walls, but I know the difference between them. So if we have templates in our head, clear templates of what relationships are, what are the kinds of roles we can play with one another, only then can we identify them when we come across people. It's like Ashok was giving me an example in the break, how there are different configurations that atoms can come together in. So there was that example of H2O and H2O2. Completely different configurations, same ingredients. Right? And there could be so many other configurations of hydrogen and oxygen. But there could be infinite types of variations. But they come together in certain few. And these certain few particular configurations have very different behaviors. They are able to recognize that in this environment, we can come together like this and this will be stable. So in a certain environment, hydrogen and oxygen will combine to form water. In another environment, hydrogen and oxygen will come together and form hydrogen peroxide. Very different, acid and water. But both of these are stable in that particular environment because these are the configurations that this is the kind of togetherness that they need to fulfill with one another in this environment, and this is the kind of configuration that they need to fulfill with one another in this other environment. So similarly, there are templates of configurations that we can come into with one another in different situations. And once we understand the types of these configurations and the role, the purpose of each of those configurations and which configuration is necessary for which environment, then maybe when we come across people, we can recognize, we can identify, oh, with this person, together we can decide this is what our mutuality, our complementarity can be. This is the best complementarity we can play in each other's lives given our situation, given our environment. So that is what is meant by identifying a relationship. First, we need to have a template of the different roles we can play in each other's lives, all of us. What are the different roles? The different purposes that we can fulfill in each other's mutual growth. And once we've got that understanding, on the basis of that, when we go about living, we can recognize, oh, I can play this role in their life and they can play this role in my life. That is what identifying a relationship is. So it goes.
I just want to add one more thing. This template is needed because these relationships are in the abstract domain. We are conditioned to deal with the material things. So the examples that we were taking of door or window or something or table, these don't seem so unfamiliar. Even if I don't know the word or thing like that, I still will be able because I'm used to dealing with material things. But it is in the abstract domain, it is in the non-material domain that we really need the help of the templates. Because there we have no way of knowing what is right or wrong right now, because there is no environment which is rich with it as conditioned us. So therefore we need these templates.
So first we have a set of configurations that work, the set of roles or template of different roles we can play in each other's growth, and on the basis of that we identify the relationship. So now when we identify a relationship, on the basis of that, our interactions are filled with certain values. Now values are like sentiments that we feel that correspond to the purpose of the relationship. For instance, a parent-child relationship. Now the purpose of that relationship is the nurturing and guidance of the child. Because that is the purpose of the relationship. When the parent is interacting with the child, very spontaneously, very naturally, if they identify that as the purpose of that interaction, the value they feel with the child is this value of care, of generosity, of nurturing, right? So that is the values associated with the purpose of parent-child relationship. So there are certain values associated with each relationship. So if we look at the relationship as the purpose of a configuration, the values are the associated sentiments that we feel, that flow naturally. An example that I feel that I really like, that Nagaraj used to give is, that as soon as we recognize any relationship, to the extent that we recognize it, the values flow automatically, very spontaneously. For instance, if we're sitting in the train or in the public transport, and it's a packed public transport and some stranger walks in, everyone kind of makes sure that everyone spreads their legs and hands so that my space doesn't get taken over. If a stranger walks in, if you feel like there is no connection with you. Now, conversely, if we're sitting in a packed transport and someone we recognize a relationship with comes in, walks in, say we see someone who we see as our friend, they walk in. Immediately we feel like, oh, let me make some room for them. Maybe I'll shift and squeeze in, or I'll even get up and give them my seat. So as soon as we identify the relationship, immediately the corresponding values flow. So that tells me, if my values aren't flowing, I haven't recognized the relationship properly. if I'm not feeling affection, if I'm not feeling gratitude, that means somewhere or the other, I have not been able to understand and identify that relationship properly. So, understanding comes with, we need understanding for recognizing the relationship. And once we recognize the relationship, the values flow automatically. And let's say we've understood, identified the relationship, and so the values are flowing. What happens next? Oh, sorry. Next, we will, now the two of us are interacting, and now both of us will see that the values flow. Because what we need from each other in a relationship are these values. So between a parent and child, the parent and child will both see, oh, did my care flow? Did my generosity flow? And the child will also evaluate. I mean, they will evaluate whether this care and generosity flowed. And based on this evaluation, both of us are evaluating whether this happened or not. Based on that, if the answer on both parties is yes, then that leads to mutual fulfillment. So that is what is leading to the fulfillment in the relationship. The fact of the flowing of values and are being able to recognize that these values are flowing. So if I feel like my friend shows affection for me, my friend has affection for me, and they also feel that they have affection for me, then we can both feel fulfilled in that relationship. Then whether they wait for me at the bus stop or not, whether they're late to my party or whatever, as long as we both feel that those values are flowing, there's no problem between us. As soon as we feel like those values are compromised, my friend is not affectionate to me, at that moment, no matter what they do, it will feel unfulfilled. So often we think it's that action, they didn't do what they had said they would do on time. But actually it's what that signifies in our mind. For us, we are interpreting that action as a lack of affection. That is what feels unfulfilling. So our major process of relationships and harmony in relationships are these values. We want these values out of our relationships. Like a parent and child. The parent may be giving lots of good food to the best of their ability, but if the child feels that actually they don't care about me, then they'll even reject the food. They'll be like, yeah, whatever. You will give me food, you have to make food anyway. They won't feel that fulfillment in the relationship. If the child is sure that the parent cares about me, they do want to do the best for me, then even if the parent doesn't provide food, the child will try to compliment in some way. Like, okay, I'll do the food. Why won't you able to make the food? I'll do it. I'll help you. So the juice of relationships are these values. SAR se mere दिमाग में juice आता है. And
It's also the Gen Z lingo, so it's like,
yeah, maybe that's it.
I have a. Sorry, it was coming. What you were saying?
Yeah, basically, I'll just wrap it up. The essence of our relationships and the harmony in our relationships are these values. And these values flow from our identification of our roles and relationships. And that identification happens on the basis of understanding.
The word evaluation and the word evidence are two different things.
Yeah.
So just by evaluation I can feel fulfilled without the evidence?
You will evaluate based on the evidence.
Evaluation of evidence, okay. Not evaluation of the values or...
So the values are flowing. They will be represented in some conduct of yours, right? Say you're the mother and the child. If your values are flowing, I will be judging that based on your conduct. Yeah. Maybe not on your actions in each instant, but overall your conduct with me is the basis on which I judge whether the values are flowing from her or not.
So let's say you evaluate, mutually we evaluate, and the conduct wasn't all that. So it just by the act of mutual evaluation of conduct, we are not going to reach fulfillment. Am I right? let's say we mutually sit and evaluate conduct, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't it didn't feel complete.
If the evaluation was like no, there
Yeah.
are no values, then it will not lead to mutual fulfillment.
Correct. So there is that.
So
that
if at mutual evaluation there
Yeah.
is the answer is yes,
yeah.
it did so,
Yeah.
then it leads to mutual
Yeah,
fulfillment.
and not just the intent.
Not
Let's say
the
we
act
both
of-
sit
yeah.
and evaluate, and I wasn't up to my conduct. And as a child, you kind of you express that, and I'll tell you, okay, this is a good evaluation. From next time onwards, it's I shall do a better job. So that doesn't lead to fulfillment. But in the when that next thing happens, and if I'm able to
Live it out.
yeah,
with
in
that
conduct, and that leads to fulfillment. Correct?
No.
Yeah.
So, even if you acknowledge the fact that this is the two of us are there, and we are evaluating my part of conduct. Mutual evaluation is both the conducts, my conduct and your conduct.
Yeah.
So both will first evaluate my conduct. So I feel I have cared for you. Okay. You feel you have tried to care for me, but this is where I see the lack of it. Now, if I am in the right frame of mind and that this is the correct evaluation, then I will be accepting this. This also leads to fulfillment. Because there is way forward to fulfillment.
Yeah, because by accepting that particular incomplete thing,
Yeah.
we've at least closed that particular
There is a chance
thing
of
with
its completion.
acceptance.
There is
Yeah.
still the
Retains the hope.
Yeah.
yeah. It is when the hope breaks down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving the feedback. You're giving me the feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm saying no, you're not right. You're not being fair to me.
Yeah.
Now there is a chance that your hope, this person doesn't take, is not listening.
Yeah.
This is when you start feeling unfulfilled.
Mm.
And because I can see that you are unfulfilled, I also become unfulfilled. So this mutual evaluation is with both the parties.
Yeah.
Right now we are used to doing evaluation, which is very rare.
Yeah.
And even if we do it, it's one-sided. I say I did this and I did that and I have done this. This sequence I did. This is my view, my side of view. But has it reached? Has it been received? So that input I am not listening to. I am not even taking that.
Yeah.
So that there has to be a complementariness in this of what I am giving and what is being received. And similarly from the other part, what you are giving and what I am receiving.
Yeah.
Then only can we come to mutual fulfillment.
Got it. There's a complex question, so I think I should save that for tomorrow, I'm guessing, right? I mean, I'm just thinking out loud.
Today,
No, tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow. Better to keep it for
Yes.
Yeah, just one question. When we're talking of value-based interactions, sometimes between a child and a parent, there is a value-based interaction, but the evidence that we see there may be a gap between the interaction. So what I'm trying to say is that if a parent is saying something to the child with a certain intent, but the child is not able to understand, and the evidence that there's a gap between for the child, when the child sees the evidence and when the interaction happens. So that leads to a disharmony, for some time. It could be months or years till the child understands, oh, this is why my parent used to say this or do this, and then understand and then realize, oh, okay, so that was right, I shouldn't have done this.
Actually, so this is also connects to what you were saying, evaluation and evidence. So the evidence of there having been justice is all of these. Evidence is the final step. If we are mutually fulfilled, that is the evidence that I identified the relationship, that means understood the relationship, then identified it properly. That is the evidence that I actually lived with the values that were present. And that is the evidence that we mutually evaluated. Only that, or the evidence of all of this is if we are mutually fulfilled. So in the parent-child interaction, like you're saying, if maybe I've done it with the best of my intent, but the child is still unfulfilled, that tells me that somewhere I've been lacking in this. So where could it be lacking? I know my intent was good, but where over here was the lack? Where do you think it could have been?
And sometimes other values seep into, if there are two different kinds of value, because sometimes you have to relook at the whole also. Sometimes cross.
So the values will always spontaneously flow from the relationship that we've identified. There is no extra effort we need to put in getting them together. We actually don't do that. We just understand the relationship and identify it, and from that the values flow automatically. So, if the fulfillment is not there, where values are spontaneous, evaluation is based on the values that flow, and mutual fulfillment is the evidence of whether it happened or whether they flowed or not. So, if they have not flowed, because I can see there is no mutual fulfillment, it's the evidence in front of me. Where was the gap? The gap has to be in identifying the relationship.
Probably not Drishta. It could be.
Can I just say one line? Sorry. Mutual fulfillment is other name for harmony. Harmony and disharmony are self-evident. We don't need any knowledge for this. We can see it as, and whatever stage of life. Even a baby can see it, even a dying man can see it, and all the stages between. So, if it is the harmony is there, we'll be able to identify, and disharmony is there, we'll be able to identify.
Yeah. So I think the answer lies in the previous slide where we were talking about the capacity, capability, and all. So it's about I identify the relationship, but while I'm looking at for example, Alifia is there, where she is standing, what exactly her patrata and yogita, and based on that, I create an expectation. That's a problem. So the relationship is identified, but after relationship identified, whether I am following the other laws or not, so that the values will flow properly.
How about if we look at it as, we think of it, that's why I was focusing on the identifying. We think of it as something very simple. Okay, I identify her as my sister. I identify him as my father. But if I don't understand what sister is, if I don't understand what father is, have I actually identified them as such? And how will I understand what a sister is? How will I understand what a father is if I haven't understood what a human being is? Because a sister and father are the complementary roles we play in each other's lives towards the purpose of mutual human potential, right? So only if we understand human nature, human potential, can we understand the particular roles that are involved in getting us there. If I haven't understood the role, it's probably because I haven't understood the potential, the human nature. And how will I understand human nature or human potential? Only when I understand why humans exist in existence to begin with, right? So if I haven't understood existence, have I understood humans? And if I haven't understood humans, have I understood relationships? If I haven't understood relationships, have I actually identified it? So identification is not something so light. Another word for identification is recognizing. You can only recognize that which you have understood. So if I am not able to recognize this child's difference between their capability, their capacity and their receptivity, that means I have not understood what human being is. If I have not understood human being, I have not understood what my role with this human being is. That is why I am not able to be fully nurturing or guiding. I am not able to be nurturing or give guidance to them properly. That is why I have not understood my role in their life properly. And that's why I am not able to fulfill. My intention is there. We have some inkling of what I want to do here. We don't have the understanding. That is why we don't have the recognition.
So Darshita, we can connect everything to that particular thing. The whole purpose of division. That's where Baba Nagaraj came with only 5 lines initially starting. 5 lines summarizes pretty much everything. The whole idea of dissecting is to find out where exactly we are missing. So I agree with you that recognizing relationship in recognizing relationship, it is the answer to 3 is already there. You can say, oh, you can recognize relationship only if you know who am I, what is world. Till then, the recognition of relationship will not happen. But the journey from our current level of awareness to that particular thing, the some of the steps, some of the flows which are telling you, oh, you understood based on your current level of, my current level of awareness, I am seeing in an agreement, we saw the 4 flow, the agreement, acceptance, understanding. I agree that, okay, oh, this is what the purpose looks like, acceptance is there. Now when I start living it, there are other flows which are coming into play. So I think we need to, this is my way of seeing darshan, that darshan is trying to point out in our day-to-day life which flow you are missing.
Exactly.
And if we don't exactly know, like for example in the case which is mentioned, it is the flow, the missing part was, again, understanding of human being is a missing part, agreed. But what part of the missing was the evaluation of the patrata and shabda and yogita.
Right, but where is that?
No, I agree.
That is true, but I'm saying our need for understanding also develops, like you were just saying, in our living relationships where we fall short. Right? So if I believe that I've identified this relationship, but I have not understood her patrata, her receptivity and her capability, I believe that I understand what it means to be nurturing and to give guidance. Actually, that is what I have not understood. That to nurture and to be able to guide, I need to have understood the needs in this person. So understanding the needs of the person is identifying the basic nature of human being and their particular receptivity and their particular capability. So it is that which I have not fully understood. And so when I'm living, I will see that, oh, I want to be a good parent to my child. I have the full intent and I'm doing it to the best of my understanding. So when it's not following through, which part of my understanding is missing? Which part is missing? Have I understood what I'm supposed to be doing here? What my purpose in her life is? Maybe I need to look at that again. Okay, what is my purpose in her life? I am her parent. What is a parent? A parent is someone who nurtures and guides, right? For upliftment. What is upliftment? Do I know that? What is therefore nurturing towards that upliftment? Do I understand that? What is guidance? Do I understand that? In order to understand nurturance and guidance, I have to understand human beings and the process of human education. If I have not understood that, then I haven't understood nurturing and guidance or parenting, right? And in that is what you are pointing to lies. It is in understanding guidance that these steps are relevant. The process of education is relevant. So therefore, I need to understand the process of education.
Let me just add 2 things to this. Recognizing relationships. In humans, identifying or recognizes is a function of awareness. Right? We've talked about this. We were walking in the grass and we're not aware of certain things, we won't be able to see them. How does the awareness come about? From the knowledge. So there is some educational process which is needed to raise the awareness. So if we don't have that educational process, that awareness will be missing. Okay? And the second thing which, the second point in that is that when we say understanding of the purpose, so like you're listening to it now, say X time you've heard about this whole proposal, but every time you hear, you form some sort of a whole picture. It is not complete, but you try to connect the dots together. And then you try to function from that. So what she's saying, that human purpose you have identified in a certain manner, maybe it is incomplete right now. So when you go and start living in the relationship and you don't see mutual fulfillment, it is an indicator maybe this picture is not complete. So you go back and try to fill the gaps again. So this is the iterative process which goes. This is what we mean by please let him think. So this is what we call bhas, abhas, pratiti, anubhav. So those, we are, our first guess of what the reality is like will be looser. Then we'll get more precise. Then we'll get further precise till the time we arrive at the thing. So it doesn't mean that we won't be able to live in justice till the time we are fully realized. We'll start living it to our best estimations, which will be better than what we are doing today. There will be some improvement in it. But it won't be fulfilling in the sense, it won't be complete, but it won't be disheartening also. This we must remember. It's a step by step from one joy to the other. The thing which we have to focus on is not what is missing. First we have to acknowledge what has been done. That joy will be there. And then we see, okay, this much is still left. Something is still left. Then work on it. So it's not a disheartening process when we go through this. Our relationships gradually improve. So that is important.
So the whole crux of identifying a relationship is not the name of that relationship. It is the meaning of that relationship. The meaning of the parent-child relationship is nurturing and guiding a child, a human child, to become a full-grown, independent, harmonious human being. That is what it means to be parent to a child. So we need to understand what a full-grown human is. We need to understand what guidance is. And we need to understand what nurturing. To the extent that we've understood all of these, we will be able to live them out. And to that extent, the child will also reflect it in their fulfillment. And whatever they are showing me that has been unfulfilling or lacking, that gives me the indication, oh, this is something I need to understand better, and then that's a feedback for me to understand it better and then live it out accordingly.
One thing I want to add further. When I've been doing this practice, the problem I've identified is that when I'm looking at mutual fulfillment and seeing some sort of improvements, I used to reflect on it by saying, okay, I am doing better than what my parents do. So my comparison, the basis of my evaluation was what I had experienced as a child. So this used to make me feel very good. I'm doing much better. But children were indicating that no, you're not doing too well. So the reference has to go to the human design. That is the important shift. This is what has to be fulfilled. If we keep falling back to this, I'm doing better than my brother or my father or my neighbor, this is where we get misdirected in this process at times. I might be doing better than the other, but this still will not be fulfilled. So we have to look at the template. That's why the template is very important.
And what you were talking about, I think, is that my intent was to be nurturing and guiding, and the child doesn't see that initially. Being able to appreciate the other person's intent is a developed quality of understanding. So that may come later. They may be able to eventually appreciate that you have the right intent, but the gap in our intention and our final ability to live with justice is still felt. But the fulfillment that comes later on being able to appreciate the intent is definitely more later on in the child than it was compared to the time when they didn't even appreciate the intent, where they doubted even the intent. So here, these are the different types of roles we play with each other that we need to identify with one another. And there are seven. We don't need to go into detail on all of them. I'll just show you the others. And then we can choose a few to go into.
I'll just say how they come about. So, two people have decided they want to co-create and raise a family or something like that. So, before they raise a family, their husband and wife, then they have, say, their own biological child, or they adopt some child. They become parent-child relationship. Any family can have more than one child. So here comes the sibling relationship. Now, no family is alone in the community.
So there are other families. So the children from other families are the friend-friend relationship, and the parents of different families are friend-friend relationship. Now that these children are there, they will need some guidance and they need some education. Therefore comes the teacher-student relationship. Somebody takes the responsibility of creating a learning environment for them so that they can raise their awareness. So that responsible person becomes the teacher and the students. Now once the learnings are complete, they also have to participate for some occupation because they are consumers since first breath to the last breath. So they participate in some occupation. This is where employer-employee or co-worker relationship, because no work is done alone. It's always in cooperation with others. So that brings in the co-worker relationship. And because we are living in a society, and society as such functions as an institution. So society is also functions as a relationships, but also functions as an institution. So our shopkeeper and we could be friendly to each other, but there is also a responsibility there on his end and there is a responsibility on my end. The local post office, I interact with them regularly, or the local electricity department, I interact with them, or I go to the school, the parent going to the school and the parent have an institutional relationship, right? We're traveling in a bus, the bus driver, conductor have an institutional relationship with the passengers. Both have their set of responsibilities. So these are rest of the society that we interact with that falls under institutional relationship. And even if we are like two people who are just walking across, I go for a walk in Kanbari and I see the other person coming, we are still citizens. So that is the institutional relationship. There is a certain kind of expectation or certain conduct. When we are walking and going to pass each other, we can't be abusive to each other. We are not there to hurt each other. We are not supposed to obstruct each other. So there is a inbuilt responsibility even there. So we are never free of responsibility in any interaction with human beings. That is what we have to understand.
So all strangers fall under
Institutional relationships.
So this is another way of looking at it, is systemic relationship. So by default, we are in systemic relationship with most people. But now, these are the 7 categories of relationships. If we go back to the definition of relationship, that was commitment to mutual growth and long-term commitment to mutual growth. So these are the 7 categories in which we find ourselves with the people we want to live with long-term. Right? So like with our friends, with our siblings, with our colleagues, with our teachers, students. These are long-term commitments. These are not transient situations. So there are 2 ways of recognizing any individual that you might come across. A, is this a long-term commitment that I have with them? Or B, is this a transient interaction that I'm having with them? In both situations, we want harmony. But in one, there is a long-term commitment of moving together in each other's journeys and supporting each other in one another's journey. And in the other, we know that situationally this is transient. So this one, the one which is transient, we call acquaintanceship. The committed one is what we call a relationship. Even with the acquaintanceships, when we meet them briefly, we place them in one of these categories only, but it is up to us where we place them, right? So like right now, we are in a sort of systemic relationship. We can see each other as part of a systemic institutional relationship, or we can identify with one another as, okay, we're friends, or okay, you're like my didi or my bhaiya, or you're like my uncle or my aunt, which is like father-like or mother-like. So these are voluntary things that we do when we know this is short-term. We don't have like long-term commitment in each other's lives necessarily. We can choose to convert it into that, but as long as we both know, if we both agree that this is short-term, but this is how we're going to relate with each other in that short-term, it's going to be mutually fulfilling. Whereas in committed long-term relationships, again, we need to both have this understanding that this is long-term. Because that comes with a whole other sort of participation in each other's lives. Right? We have a whole different meaning we have to each other. A parent with a child, it's very obvious there. They can't just be like, oh, this is temporary. Right now I'll be parent-like with you, but maybe later I won't be your parent. it feels unfulfilling.
That's
But that
the question, right? How long is it a parent-child relationship? Like, is it like till the partner?
So the definition, look at the definition.
No, what I mean is, like, let's say my parents are now 80.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, my parents are now 80 plus, I'm like, whatever, 40 plus, and I mean, how does that, where does that sit?
So are they still responsible for your guidance and upliftment?
No.
So it's not that.
So where do I put them?
Yeah.
They're fine.
Wait. No. The relationship, their role in my life has been to nurture and guide me till the point that I needed nurturance and guidance. And my role in their life has been that I have received it and reached that upliftment state, right? And become someone who is useful in myself and complementary to others. That has been our role in each other's lives. Even if those particular activities that they did to fulfill that purpose are no longer needed now, the values I feel for them will be on the basis of the role they played in my life. So no matter whether or not I'm dependent on them anymore, when we come to values, we'll see. The value I feel towards them, the child feels towards their elderly parent, is still a recognition of this nurturing and guidance that I received from them. So that value is called gratitude, right? So I may be friendly with them. Often we think, okay, after a point our parents become our friends. So yeah, we become friendly with them. But our friend relationship, the meaning of friendship is this: to learn, explore and experiment together and to become complementary in growth. Of course, we do become complementary in each other's growth at times, but they have also played this other greater role in our lives. It's not like we forget that, I mean we can forget that, but that exists. We can recognize it, we can appreciate it, and even after that activity has stopped, that role that they played, that still exists, right? I received the nurturance and guidance, so I will still be grateful to them. So that remains. Even though that's why I focus on the fact that the relationship means the values involved, not the activities. The activities will change with age and circumstance. Like with my sibling, we lived together for a while. After a point, we won't live together. But our role in each other's lives has been to share responsibilities and achievements and to be collaborative in each other's upliftment, mutually. Whether we're far or close, that has been the role, that is the purpose of our coming together. So the activity might change, how we go about doing this, the hows might change, but the why is still the same. That is why we relate with each other. That is what it means to be a sibling, that is what it means to be a friend, what it means to be a parent. So, value over activity. So, the purpose determines the values, and the values will situationally determine the activity.
Strangely, when you said, you recognize, right, the moment you said that, and I looked at whole list, I could only relate to liability and duty, and then I didn't even look at what this side. I only looked at just when you said recognize it, and then when I looked at this side, I was like employer, employee. It's like
not going to be fulfilled
in the current scenario, but look at it in the current scenario in a family structure beyond.
Takes place, no? When parents are above 85, role reversal takes place.
Yeah, but employee, employer, when you look at it like that.
Nurture them, no?
Nurture comes with guidance, I don't know, yeah.
Even if a parent is elderly and needs my support in their care, I might be taking care of their bodily needs, but they don't need my guidance. The activity might be the same that they performed when I was a child, but the value with which it is being done by the child for their parent is gratitude, not out of guidance.
But I think
just remember that these words have well-defined meanings. So don't
Each
jump to
is
the
a
meaning.
chapter. So like guidance is a chapter, nurturing is a whole chapter. This is all indicative. We can open each of these up to understand what it means. We have some familiarity with these terms. We are not familiar with the meanings.
Correct.
So each has to be studied and understood.
No, it's okay. It wasn't so important. I think we need to save time.
So I get that in parent-child relationship, the fulfillment will be like gratitude from the child's part. So how if we don't have 100% gratitude? So something which happened back. So what is about it? Like how in the future, like how have where is it?
What is gratitude? Where does it come from?
Thankfulness.
All of these, yeah. But all of these words that I've just been throwing out there, respect, gratitude, etc., they all have definite meanings. So yeah, these were the relationships. After this, that was the first part of the definition of justice, identifying the relationships. Right? So these are the relationships. The second part was living interactions based on values. So then we need to understand what these values are. That is the natural, when you want to do this, when you want to live in relationships, that is the natural question that follows. What are these values? Where do they come from? Why am I not feeling them? Why am I not receiving them fully? What is missing? So then it becomes our need to understand the values also. So that is what the next part is. But before moving on to that.
One thing to remember on this, no, I just want to address to what you're saying. When we say values and we look at the meaning, here the proposition is that beyond the meaning there is actually a reality represented by this word. So, respect is actually a reality which can be observed between two people. Gratitude is a reality which can be observed between two people. Right? So, affection, love, these are all realities. Realities are definite things. Therefore, definite meanings. Therefore, definite word. Is the other way around. Right now, what we are doing is we are taking word and some vague meaning. No reality. That is the problem.
In that case, I have to analyze the reality and put the suitable words.
Yes.
Whichever it is.
One, I want to understand more about coincidental in this sister-brother relationship. Also, I want to say that when the parents, sometimes they don't need our help till 80s also. I've seen that in my life. But some kind of, when we take care of them, like there is as Anjali said, there is some little role reversal. They have also few things which they haven't understood. I could say that complementarity can be over there, but then what is that? Like when we take care of the parents and we feel that we have to take care of the parents in all aspects, financial, physical, emotional also, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Coincidental also.
So if you see, actually in each of these, the left side is one side of the relationship and the right side of the slash is the right side of the relationship. So the role of the child in the parent's life is to become useful and complementary, right? So when a child such as this has grown up and they see the need of the parent, their role in that relationship itself was to become complementary humans, right? So they'll see the need of the parent and fulfill, become complementary to those needs of the parents with gratitude. Because they were the ones who allowed me to become such a person capable of being complementary.
The one caution I would say when we talk about role reversal, it's not actually a role reversal, right? That we have to be careful about. The only reversal is in that they used to care for my body and I'll be caring for their body. Otherwise, it's not changing. Like for example, when children are young, they have a need for learning. The need is there and the parent can complement them by supporting them in learning, right? An elderly parent doesn't have a need to learn. So one can't become a teacher to them. One can't become a guide to them. We are there to support whatever their needs are right now. That we have to keep in mind. So it's not a role reversal as such.
Coincidental? Yeah, coincidental because our siblings, we happen to be born in the same family, right? we happen to be in a situation where we share responsibilities and achievements. So that way it is coincidental, but our need for collaborating in our mutual upliftment is automatically flows from that serendipitous coincidence of our identity. So that you can see each sibling, when they're born, the siblings want to get along. They're not able to, that's a different thing, but they want to be fulfilling in each other's lives. So actually, that's why before moving on, since for a lot of us, I think we spoke a lot about the parent-child relationship because that is a very relevant relationship for people of a certain age. But I think there are also younger children here. For us, there are other relationships that are also very relevant, like the friend-friend relationship and the sibling relationship, right? So if any of you, if there is anything you would like to understand in these, then we can talk about those as well. We can look at what it means to be friends. What do we seek out of our friendship?
Why don't you put what you want to say in this? Put a brief thing, then if there are questions, take them.
So what is it when we become someone's friend, or when we want to see someone as our friend, or when two people want to see each other as friends? What are we seeking? What do we hope for in that dynamic? This is the proposal. This is what we are seeking. So this is what will feel fulfilling in that relationship with our friends. What is it? With our friends, we want to learn together. We want to explore together. And we want to experiment together. And we want to do all that because we know that we are going to be growing together towards something that will feel fulfilling, complete. But we want to do it together. That's why when you understand something together with people, you feel so close and affectionate, and you feel that friendship with them, that affinity with them. That is what is fulfilling in friendship. We can observe in our own lives, what is it that we really like to do with our friends? What gives us that feeling? At one point in my life, I thought, okay, just if I just spend time with the people that I call my friends, it'll be enough for me. I can do anything that I want. If only we spend time together and we do that. But slowly I realized that, it's better than not having them around, but after a point, it's still not fulfilling. Like we might be, watching a movie together, but it doesn't feel fulfilling. I feel like, I can even watch a movie alone. When I'm with my friends, I want to be doing something more engaging together, something in which I can feel more with them. And what were those activities? Turns out when we were, say, looking at something together, say it's just even something as simple as going to the river and appreciating its beauty, or exploring the river together, exploring skipping stones together, experimenting on how it goes. We're doing this together. Okay, you can do it like this, I can do it like this. If we're together, if we're in the same place and both of us are skipping stones separately, it doesn't feel as nice. If we're doing it together, I'm watching you and you're watching me, and we're, learning from each other or doing it with each other, then it feels like, okay, now this feels better. I like this better. I think that's why we started coming up with competitive games, because that's one way we feel like we can engage with each other. Or with, if we're competing with each other, at least we're doing that activity together. But it gets a little skewed because in wanting to do it together, we also pit ourselves against each other. But at least it's better than doing things in proximity but separately. So, but that's one level of exploring and experimenting together. Another way we like to spend time with our friends is when we're studying something together. I'm thinking about it in this way. How are you looking at this situation? How do we figure this out? Okay, we need to go, say, we plan something together. We need to camp out. So we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll meet together like this, you do this, and we'll go out and plan the entire camping trip. And often you hear these words that, the planning of the trip was a lot more fun than the trip itself. Or the planning of, say, a school event was so much more fun than the event itself. It's because in that process, we were together, we were putting our minds together. Or the other day when we were building the bricks, and initially we were all doing it separately, not building the bricks, just stacking the bricks. Such a mundane job. Just imagine all of us who were there, just imagine if we were just doing it separately, not looking at each other. So mundane. It's actually a very mundane job. You're lifting bricks from one place and stacking them in another place. But then, when we started doing it in coordination with each other, when we were trying to consciously match each other's rhythms, each other's steps, each other's abilities, and taking care of also, oh, this one is getting tired, so let's switch around. Oh, we can create, we can talk about how they're doing it and laugh about it together. That is what made it really fun, at least for me. I don't know, actually, you have to declare. I really enjoyed it.
Also, extinguishing the fire also was like that.
Yeah, doing something together, something so productive together, having accomplished it in coordination with each other, in teamwork with each other, that is what felt really good. I mean, Mafia also feels good, but I think that felt even better because we were all on the same team.
And there was a larger purpose also.
Yeah, that's what, there was a common purpose uniting us. We were doing it together. We were learning for all of our growth. We were exploring where we weren't learning. We did learn how to put out a fire. We explored how to do it, we experimented, and we succeeded. So that felt really good because we were complementary in each other's growth and we fulfilled that purpose together. So Mafia also feels good because we're somewhat together, at least.
But without talking to each other, right? We can't even collaborate there. It's all like
yeah, and somewhere there are two teams, so it feels a little like, oh, I have to be against. I have to lie to my friend to be able to win this round. So there's somewhat something feels a little off, but I think it's still better than not playing games because at least we're together in that, and that builds that friendship-like feeling.
Playing it twice is even better.
Yeah, twice.
I wanted to add to that. Like watching a movie together is maybe little pleasurable, but then talking about it and how you saw it, what you appreciated, and whatever.
Yeah.
Ye acha tha, ye acha nahi tha. This was, just talking about it, sharing each other, exploring it together. That and what you observed, sharing what you observed together. That is another level.
Actually, same with Mafia. If you'll observe, the game happens and everyone's on two teams, but as soon as the game ends, there's such a long discussion on what everyone was going through in their, we were so isolated in our roles before the game ended. But after it ends, you feel like, oh, I can just tell everyone how I was feeling, how I saw this, what I made sense of. That is what feels even better than the game itself.
Yeah. So, if we go back to our initial discussion, that human being has the faculty to observe and interpret meaning, then decide, take action, then see the result, that is evaluation, which is again an observation. We want to be together in all of these, all the parts: observation, interpreting the meaning, making the decision, acting together, evaluating the result together, and then improving ourselves together. So activities sometimes give us that kind of a thing. But as long as the purpose is not there, this does not continue, because this is very dependent, these activities are very dependent on the circumstances, right? But the purpose is universal, it is not dependent on the circumstances. So if we come together in terms of purpose, these such relationships are much longer lasting. Then the fulfillment is much longer lasting. That's important.
Yeah.
So,
very important point, that with people with whom we feel like, oh, it's so good, we can learn it together, we are able to explore together and experiment together in a complementary manner. When we meet such people, do we want it to be short-lived? How long do we want that togetherness to continue? 1 day, 1 year? Long.
We don't want it to end.
We don't want it to end. So that makes us think, okay, that's what we want our friendships to be. And right now, how are our friendships? Are they long-term commitments with each other, or are they situational?
I think it's not about friends. Every relationship is right now situational.
Right.
Not just friends.
Just taking this example, right now all of these are situations. But even with friends, actually we feel like, well, there are two groups of people. Some people think our friends are totally situational. Right now I'm here, so they're my friends. Then tomorrow I'll be there, I'll make new friends. Some people come from that school of thought. Others come from the school of thought that, oh, my family is situational. I was born there. So right now I was with them, and later I'll go somewhere else. They will be my family. My friends will be my family. So both school of thoughts schools of thought exist. But which one, I mean, actually, we want, if these purposes are being met, we want all of them to continue. It's because these are not being met that we feel like, okay, I better move away from here and find that satisfaction elsewhere. We want this to be able to continue. If we are able to achieve this, these purposes, that's when we feel fulfilled. We don't want that to end. Why would we want it to end?
That doesn't go against the coexistence part of things. Like, let's say, you know, Pashwa and I are friends, and at one point our values were kind of, you know, whatever, similar. And then let's say, you know, in this I'll have to make Pashwa the whatever not so conducive friend. So let's say she kind of gets into some whatever substance abuse or whatever, and she kind of goes away in her own direction. And I realize that our values are not matching anymore. So, you know, I'd rather become friends with maybe Jim or whoever, right? So it's like, so somewhere there is that sense of whatever, no? Like, yeah.
It's like, oh, I
like you're letting, you're disconnecting the
lack of
coexistence. Not just loyalty, it's also like, it's like, okay,
I can't carry
fine.
on like this because we are, you know, our values don't match. So I don't know how to continue in this relationship. I don't know how to continue to be complementary in each other's growth, because she sees growth in one way and I see growth in another way.
Yeah, and also when I look at, I mean, I'm answering my own question, but anyway, that as I think these things open up. I think for the higher good of coexistence, you know, just me trying to, you know, kind of fix Pashwa with continuous proposals, I'd rather, in the same amount of time, I think I can make many more, you know, whatever.
I can be more efficient at fixing other people.
Not fixing, you know. No, that's the thing. Instead of fixing, I'd rather be like, you know, more in mutually, conducive relationships where both of us can grow instead of just me, somewhere, I think something like that. I think instead
so
of
relationships, the activities change with circumstances.
Correct,
But if the values change, that's what hurts. So we might change our activity because of certain circumstances. Maybe we can't understand things together, now we can't interpret things together, we can't do things together, maybe. But the value of affection, say concern, caring, these, if they change, even if my friend is into substance abuse, then that feels like letting down the person.
If the values are still intact, then of course, definitely.
It's a factor. See, if I feel like our values differ and I cannot be, you know, we cannot be part of each other's growth in a conducive manner, that what that means is that I feel myself incapable of being complementary in their growth. It means my ability to be complementary is not yet complete. That's why I'm compelled to part ways. Who wants to part ways? If you felt that, you know, we do share something together, we do share this intent, this desire to support each other in exploring and experimenting and learning. It's that we're not able to do it. We have not achieved that capacity that we will be able to complement them no matter where they go, no matter how they think, no matter what their values become. So that is an indication there. So of course that is a situation that can happen, but what that reminds me of is that I want to be together. I am not able to be together. So maybe I can also think about increasing my ability. You know, that would be, because if I just give up here, I go somewhere else. There also my ability will be lacking. The lack of ability in me is not changing because I have not decided to work on it. There will be some shortcoming there also. Our values need not match completely with someone else. So the same situation will arise elsewhere, no? So since we already, and we'll both be hurt in the process. To whatever extent, we'll both be hurt that this could not continue. So why don't I just work on it now, here and now, instead of go 3 times, you know, to other places and then realize, oh, this was what had to be worked on in the first place, and then work on it then, after having hurt 3 other people and myself 3 times.
Pallavi, you had wanted to ask something long time back. We got distracted now. No? Okay, fine. Yeah, you've been waiting for some time.
I just want to know the distinction between sibling and friend-friend relationship. Is it like shared responsibility? That is the distinction, because otherwise you're similar age people.
Now there is also another difference. There is an age difference. So even in twins who are born like within a few minutes of each other, the elder one is the elder one and the younger one is the younger one. So there are some dynamics which are there in this. So that we can discuss some other time, but there is relevance of the difference in responsibility and taking the liability and duty part changes in that.
Which is coincidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I ask a question? So, taking on from Rekha's example, now if we see a similar situation in a sibling relationship, where two siblings, they sort of grow into different individuals with the basic value system remaining the same, but different habits, and so over a period of time when you come together, there's not much in common. However, there's a shared responsibility towards each other that you feel, which stays, which could be, one could also term it as a duty, but which both the siblings are more than willing to fulfill in terms of need. But that's pretty much a need based. I know there's somebody, my sibling is there behind me all the time, and my sibling also knows. But that that the joy of living together, because we've grown into two different individuals, that doesn't remain. So is there a way through this that we see of bringing it together? Because though we know that he or she is there whenever I need, but that on a daily basis, that living together is missing. Yeah.
So the value we share is our commitment to each other at least. That is a shared value. We don't, so even if we say that, okay, they are there when I need, I don't know what I need and I don't know what they need. So we can come together because we both share this intent to support each other. But we both don't understand what it means to support each other. So we both don't know what upliftment is, our own or the other. So we can work on that together. It will take time. It will take maybe whoever recognizes it first can start working on it. The other one receives it well only because they also need it. And it's not about, because right now we think, oh, what they need is our support when they get hurt or when they fall sick or when they need some economic support. That's not what each of us needs. We need each other in our upliftment. So when we also think, oh, when they're sad, I can lend them a shoulder. But that is one part of it. But we need to, what our need from our sibling is our mutual support and mutual upliftment. So lending a shoulder when they're sad is part of it, but also understanding why they're sad, what can allow them to come out of it, what can allow them to be happy, what can allow them to be harmonious and free and independent and complementary and useful in themselves. That is our role in each other's life. So the more that both the siblings understand that, the more they'll be able to live like that with each other. And even if one understands more first, when they start living it like that, the other person recognizes it. And when they recognize it, they'll start corresponding in their own way. And the other sibling can recognize them. In this way it can be.
So yeah, the bottom of it is that communication then does become a very important part.
All of these have to do with mutual upliftment. Mutual upliftment has to do with education. Education is through communication.
So no relationship is there where communication is not important.
Yeah, I remember. I was a little curious about the teacher-student, and we don't have complementary growth, upliftment, any of those. So, is there I mean, is there some
So this word learned encompasses a whole lot. What it means is that this is someone who has evidenced their understanding, which means this is someone who has evidenced harmony, evidenced being useful and complementary to others. So that is what learned is kind of encapsulated. And there's a young person in society who also wants to be that way. They're also getting a direction of that from their parents. But here they can, this relationship is specifically to be able to reach that learning, that level of evidence. So that association is when I recognize that this person is someone I want to be like. This person is the kind of the complete that I want to reach, and I come to them to learn that in particular. That is the teacher-student relation.
I have a question regarding this friend-friend relationship. Like now I get to understand that yes, there should be like the characteristic of learning and exploring and experimenting between us two. But like coming back to the reality, like when we go apart and be at our local work, there we don't find such relation, we don't find such cooperation, that mutual learning and growth and complementary and uplift each other. Because what I saw in my experience, that most of them are just for their benefits and also to like there are a lot of negative things. And I'm not complaining for them that I am not that. Maybe I might be that also. Like after having this session, I might get my realization that I might be wrong at that moment, that I didn't knew that this is wrong for me. So like now when I get back, how do I encounter that? I don't want that everybody does that. I don't expect that. But just in case, if I feel like this relationship, a friend-friend relationship with anybody surrounding me, just I experience this negative thing. So.
Right. So I think you partly answered it yourself. You didn't know this was the meaning of friend-friend relationship up to now either.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're seeing it, and it's making you think about it. I don't know. Do you think this is a fulfilling way of being a friend? Would you find this fulfilling?
As per now, yes.
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 So the proposal is, all humans will find such a friend fulfilling. So even if, like you, up till this moment, did not know this is what it meant to be a friend, but you wanted to be a good friend, but you weren't able to be a good friend because you didn't know that this is what it means to be a good friend. Your friends are in the same situation, right? They want to be a good friend. They don't know what it means to be a good friend. Therefore, they're not able to be good friends. How did you become capable of coming closer to that? You are now one step closer to being a friend like this. How did that happen?
Just getting to know this, like when I got this knowledge right now.
And you thought this information was presented.
Yeah.
You thought about it.
Yes.
You reflected.
Yes.
You checked. Do I want this? And you felt, okay, yes, it does seem like I would like this. That process happened within you. That reflection happened. That is how you came to desire this. So how do you think it will happen for them?
By providing them the same knowledge.
And who can provide it? It is someone who understands and who is able to, who understands this, who is able to live it. So if you understand it, if you are able to live a little more like this, because this is a common need for all of us, they will feel it. They will feel the difference in you. And initially they will only feel the difference. Then eventually those who are more perceptive, for them it will happen faster. They will be like, oh, I also want to be like a friend like he is. Slowly, they'll start to wonder, how can I be a friend like he is? And the more you keep working on this, the more you will become capable of, when that question emerges in them, you can share, you can answer that question. And that is true for all these relationships, whether it's our friends, our siblings, our spouses, anyone.
Like, yeah, I have question, like I have the collective question for that, but specifically to what I have experienced in a friend-friend relationship. So, please.
Their inability is not their lack of intention. If they call you their friend, if they at any level want to be a friend, that intention of this learning, exploring and experimenting together is there. The understanding and ability might not be there.
The need being there and awareness of that need, these are two different things. So they have the need for this, the friends have the need for this, but they don't have the awareness for this. So we must always make this distinction. Need is there universally, right? But the acknowledgement of the need will come with the awareness. And awareness is a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen, it doesn't jump onto the full awareness immediately. There is a process in that.
We'll talk about this process.
Well, the learnings, we have to study and practice. That is the process. So whatever the area of interest, you take a look at that and you start looking at, the moment you start acknowledging, feeling the need for something, you start becoming aware of it, then you start looking at in the context of the whole system. So the moment you start looking at the whole system, it will start indicating the other gaps that you have, where you need to raise your awareness. So my area of interest, like when I started studying JV, my area of interest was physics. I was a physics student and science and those things interested me. So I would focus on that. And then I was very good at it, and I would only, whenever these relationship things came or other things came, I would not be as interested as I was on those topics. I had my own questions which I would ask Nagaraj. But as I became serious about those things and getting a fulfilling answer to them, I started feeling the need that I can't leave this. What is the human being in nature? What is its role? What are these relationships? The purpose of these relationships? So this, without this awareness, even this is not complete. So if you start pursuing anything seriously in this, it indicates to you what other things you need to fill. So you need certain prerequisites to arrive to a certain level. So interest is, what I realize and what I keep sharing is, our interests are very limited. This subject is much bigger. The more time you spend, your interest starts to expand. Right? That's what I'm saying, that's the process, that is the learning which takes place.
If I were to just rephrase the same thing, what I've understood from this is the tool that all of us have is this: A, there is this universal need, and B is this ability to see. So at each moment, in each action, in each interaction, I can see, was this fulfilling? Was this unfulfilling? As soon as I start paying attention to this question, paying attention to what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and start asking this question, the answer will be obvious. That is apparent. If I felt fulfilled, there's no two doubts about it. If it was unfulfilling also, it's very apparent that it was unfulfilling. As soon as I recognize that something was unfulfilling, I can start to ask, why was this unfulfilling? That becomes my receptivity. Now that becomes my question. Now when I go through life, I will seek the answer to that. So whatever, in every interaction we have that opportunity. Whether it is us reading a book, whether it is us playing Makya, whether it is us at the river, whether it's us discussing philosophy, whether it's just us eating food together. In each moment, I can start asking, was this fulfilling? If yes, then why? If no, then why not? And then if we start asking these questions, we can start finding the answers. The answers we find are only dependent on the questions that we have. So this is a whole repository of answers, but it's useless if we don't have the questions. So this is the first tool we can all have. We can even share this tool with others. Just start asking, am I fulfilled in this? Why or why not?
I have a small question, just a small question, like fulfilling in what way? Like, can you please explain, like in a mindfulness way?
Did this feel?
This we had covered in the previous classes.
Did this feel? Huh? We had a conversation together. Did I feel like this went well or not? Simply, that much is also enough. If that is what we can start. Then maybe our clarity of what is fulfilling for me also increases. At one point, something feels fulfilling, and then later on I find, no, I actually need more. So we grow in that from step by step. Okay. So we already reached the point of what are the values that emerge. When we recognize these purposes of our relationships, what are the values that flow? So we can now go into the types of values that can be experienced by human beings.
With the values, again, there are a lot of words here.
Yeah.
And remember, words have definite meaning because they are associated with definite realities. All these are realities that we're talking about in the abstract domain.
Values, you can also think of it as significance. What is the significance of this relationship?
Yeah.
What is the significance of this interaction? What is its relevance? What is its importance? So there are lots of different types of significance in different spheres. Right now we've been talking about relationships, so we'll focus on the relationship value, behavioral value, which is this red section. There are also other values. There are the Jeevan values, there are the human values, the relevance and significance of a human being, the relevance and significance of any sort of production that we might do with nature, in the human-nature relationship. But in the context of justice in relationships, it is these realized or established values or the manifested values that are relevant. These are the values that we experience in human relationships. So they're corresponding. When gratitude is felt in a relationship, what flows is gentleness in our interaction. So if I see, this is what the evidence in our conduct is. If a child is gentle towards their parents, no matter what they do, it means they have gratitude. We all know that intuitively. They might be very polite, but there is some harshness to that politeness. We know that the gratitude is not there. Then, if we admire someone, automatically what flows is humility. If we have reverence for someone, automatically what flows is devotion. If we feel love, then automatically what flows is the sense of oneness. We're like one another. If we have confidence or trust, in Hindi we call it Vishwas, with one another, automatically, if we trust someone, automatically there will be helpfulness. There will be no obstruction to our helpfulness. If there is care, if I care about your well-being, automatically I'll be generous. It will be like, take it, why are you not taking it? Why are you saying no, don't be so polite. It's like flowing. Whatever it is that you can be generous with, you will be generous with that. If there is this concern or guardianship, then automatically what flows is authenticity. I really like this one. That means what it means to be a guardian for someone, to have another word is in Hindi the word is Vatsalya. It is that it's connected to the parent-child relationship. It's also there in the teacher-student relationship. When you care about their education and understanding, because that is what is required for their security, their confidence in themselves, then you can't help but be authentic. You can't educate someone without authenticity. You see that what I want, whatever I've got, to go into them directly, cleanly, and whatever is missing, I want them to know it so that they can fill it up from somewhere else. I don't want to cover up my gaps, because then they won't have the ability to fulfill those. So authenticity flows directly from guardianship. Authenticity, you can call it straightforwardness. In Hindi, the word is sahajta. As I am, I will present myself exactly as I am, no pretense. Because I want you to see me as I am, take whatever is good that I can give you, and find whatever is missing elsewhere in you. Complete it from elsewhere. Then if we have respect, automatically we will be amicable. If we have affection, automatically we will be dedicated or committed to each other. So these are all, again, chapters in themselves. We can, I've just used words. We have some gist of what they might mean, but they have very specific definitions. They are very specific realities in existence, and all this left side column, the yellow column, the established values, they are all a function of different things, different kinds of understanding. So gratitude flows from understanding the help that we receive. When we are able to understand and therefore appreciate the help we receive, that is what is gratitude. So all of these are different functions of understanding.
So, if we were to understand what values are, especially in the context of behavioral values, let's start with, first thing is that these are sentiments. These are basically sentiments. Now, sentiment, when I'm saying sentiment, it is a superset in which values are also there and other things are also there, right? So, humans can have a lot of sentiments. So, values are a kind of sentiment, a special kind of sentiment. Second thing is, it is the sentiment of acceptance. We had talked about acceptance and rejection, right? When we see somebody. So, values are always sentiments of acceptance. That is another characteristics of values. Third, values are sentiments which are generated in a person through certain understanding. These are actually awarenesses which come through understanding. So without educational process, these won't be there. So there is some point of understanding which is underlying in each of these values. So they are sentiment, they are a sentiment of acceptance, they are a sentiment which come from understanding. And the fourth one, the impact of the sentiment is balancing. They bring balance to our relationships. They bring harmony to our relationship. So these are the four characteristics which define the values. Okay. Now, for example, we talked about gratitude, right? We did that exercise. Who all contributed in our breakfast, right? And we saw the whole society and everything. Now, if suppose there is a new person in front of us, right? So any new person in front of us, he has already contributed in my life by participating in the society in some organized manner. So if that person is always going to be some sort of a child to some parent, could also be a sibling to a person, to some family, could also be a friend to somebody. So all these roles this person has played, might be participating in some occupation, right? Might be contributing in the society. So when we introduce each to each other, we already have this feeling that this person has contributed something. So the purpose of introduction is to discover what all their contributions has been. So that now that I interact with this person, there is gratitude towards this person in me. That is the purpose of introductions to each other. So nobody is there who is not contributing anything. Some are contributing more, some are contributing less, but everybody is contributing. Identifying and accepting the contribution of a person is gratitude. So, human relationships, initiation of the relationship is with gratitude and affection. Affection is acceptance of the relationship with the person. It is the sentiment of acceptance of the relationship with the other. When you start thinking of this person is mine, this is my friend, this is my daughter, this is my sister, this is my brother, this is my father, this is my friend, this is my colleague, this is my neighbor. So this my word is actually saying I feel one with this person in certain aspects. The moment you start doing that, there is a sentiment which is there, which is called affection. Like when you go back from this workshop, and somehow you coincidentally meet somewhere, immediately you will identify each other. Oh, we were together. We were in the same. We were in the same side. So there's some connection that you see, and the feeling, the sentiment which will be there in you would be of affection. Like that. And now this sentiment is there of affection. Now to continue this relationship, this togetherness, we need trust. Without trust, the continuity won't be there. So,
I was also going back to that conversation we had about the parent-child and the capability and ability and so capability, receptivity and capacity. And also thinking about the sharing Pashma Didi and Jim had done, and also the children we had. They were much younger children in the previous workshop. And because here we're talking about what is evaluated are these values. So the realized or established values are evaluated based on the manifested values. Right? So if I'm interacting with my child and the child is feeling unfulfilled, like they're feeling that बहुत pressure हो रहा है, like there's a lot of pressure on me, or I'm not being seen to the extent that I am able to see, what you were saying, overestimating or underestimating their receptivity and capability. Actually, it's somewhere the child feels that my parent is not being generous to me or authentic with me. One of these, or committed to me. It's a gap in these manifest things that the child senses. Because if a parent is being completely generous and committed or dedicated here, or authentic, then you will observe with younger children. If you are interacting with a very young child and for the first time, you give it an activity that is too much for them, right? They'll start saying, you're telling them to write A, B, C, D, and they're not ready for it. They trust you, so they'll tell you, "Mujhse nahi, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not liking it." They'll tell you with full authenticity, with full trust that you will take that indication and treat it with generosity and commitment. That you will receive that indication that he is giving you. If you still don't catch it, for a long time they'll keep giving you that indication. And when you continue to fail to receive that indication, then the trust breaks in the child. Then they start feeling unhappy. Then they feel that, oh, they are not committed, they are not generous to me, they don't actually care about me. They care about something else, but it's not me. So it takes a very long time for the child to reach that point where they feel that my parents actually are not doing right. And of course the parents are not doing it out of any bad intent. We are just not, because we haven't understood what care is, because we haven't understood what guardianship is. We've put it somewhere else. We think caring for them is making sure their body is healthy. We think that guardianship for them is making sure they complete their board exam with 95% marks. So since we haven't understood that, we try to impose whatever we feel is needed to achieve that goal onto them. But for that, we are no longer now fully generous or fully authentic or fully committed. Because if we were, we would be observing their needs and their responses and their feedback. So this is how it works out. Our evidence is in the other party recognizing these And if for maybe they're not able to explain why they feel that you don't care about them, but the fact that they're saying that they feel that you don't care about them means that somewhere where care is lacking. Maybe it's not from intention, maybe it's from understanding.
Okay, so it's lunchtime. We need more time, and these topics, require a lot more discussion, and this is very engaging as I see. So shall we start at 2:30, take a break at 4, and then let's see how long we go. We'll take at least half an hour before, say, dinner time or something, 6:30 or something. Okay. 2:30.
Better to put on the group.
Yes.
Confidence and trust are put together. What is the relationship between confidence and trust?
Yeah, the Hindi word is Vishwas.
For trust.
Both.
Just go to the next slide. Back, go back.
This, the Hindi version?
Yeah, Hindi version. So that Hindi version there.
And then why did you put the word confidence?
When I am confident in our relationship, it means I am confident no matter what happens, I can live this relationship. I trust because I understand this relationship, therefore I am confident about living in this relationship. Therefore, I can trust that there will be harmony in this relationship. Trust comes from confidence. Therefore, the word in Hindi for both is the same.
So that means lack of trust is coming from low self-esteem.
Lack of understanding, which leads to lack of confidence.
Can you go back? Can you explain the relationship between patience and resoluteness?
That is up ahead.
We'll come to that.
Okay, cool. And also, I don't know whether I was paying attention or not, but did you explain what is the difference between realized values and manifested values?
No, maybe we'll.
That also you.
I'll just add one line to that.
Sure.
Nothing more than one line. So when I said values are sentiments which are established in us by understanding something. Like in gratitude, this fact that everybody is contributing something, then only gratitude comes. Right? Otherwise our gratitude, what we call, is for people who have done us some favor. Whereas here gratitude doesn't mean that favor which people are doing to us. It is meaning the contributions in our lives as human beings. In that sense. So that you need to understand that all human living is in togetherness and we are all contributing into each other's life. So that point of understanding leads to that. So you have to realize that. So that's why it's called realized value.
Manifests this.
Then it manifests in form of this.
Yeah. So basically, these are the values that get realized, that we realize, or that become established in us thanks to understanding. So education leads to these values, and from these, those manifest values just manifest.
So realized values are in the consciousness as awareness, and manifested values are there evident in our conduct.
And this word realized is, would you say it's related to the word realization that we use?
Yeah, any awareness is a realization, no?
Yeah. So
It's
this,
cognition.
when you use the word realized over here, it's the same wala word.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to comment, it's just minor difference. I like to use the word realization for anubhuti because you actually realize the values. You मूल्यों की अनुभूति होती and you experience the truth. That's why I use experience and realization. You realize values, which is in dynamics. And you experience the truth, which is a state of being.
Yeah. What was the first one? Not the state of being, the other one?
It's not
Realize,
relevant, actually.
no.
Not.
You realize the values.
Okay.